Thank you. Well, I'm going to get right started because we have an ambitious agenda here today. First of all, I'm happy to meet you all because I'd met you all by phone, but not by video at least. So it's one step closer to really meeting. I also want to introduce Kara. She's on the video there. She's going to be taking notes in the background on the whiteboard, which you'll see in a moment. For the most part, she'll be working in the background, but she may call out and ask us to clarify something or confirm a comment or whatever. I just wanted you to know her voice, and maybe you can say hi, Kara, so we recognize your voice.
Hello, good to meet you all.
Get one note. I have a brief introduction at the beginning of this workshop, and that may take about 5 or less than 10 minutes, I think. But the rest of the morning is going to be dedicated to all of you working together and start building the strategic plan. As I mentioned, the agenda is ambitious for today. We have a lot of work to do. I'm going to push the pace along, but to maximize the value of this limited time we have together. But while I will push it, I won't force it. So we'll take the time we need to hear everyone and work our way through everything appropriately. And so I'm going to share my screen now. And let's see what we got here. I need to go over here. And I'm gonna ask you if you can see this okay. It depends what kind of screen you have. Can you read these words right here? Is this about right? Would you want it bigger or smaller? That's pretty good. Okay. Some of the other screens have smaller type. If it's ever not a size you like because it looks different on everyone's screen, I'll just adjust it. Just speak up. I just want to talk for 1 minute. We'll talk about how the workshop's going to work in just a moment, but I want to talk about how the, what is a strategic plan? I don't know that all of you have had experience with strategic plans. There's some words right there. You can look at those while I'm talking here for a second. I like to use this little boat as a metaphor. And if the boat, I think it's called a shell, some of you may know, and I always get corrected on it, but anyway, if this were the district and all these, unfortunately, they're all guys in suits, but if they were all of you, what we're doing here today is basically saying, where is the district going? Where is this boat going in the next 3 to 5 years? Where do we want to arrive after that point? And then how are we going to get there? You know, if everyone just got to work and just rowed as hard as they could, the boat may just shudder, it may go in circles, it may go here or there, but we not only want to say where we want to go, but we're going to identify who's going to do what is the work and what is the timing, so that we actually get where we're arriving. That's the simplest sort of summary of what we're doing. Of course, it's got a lot of elements to it. I don't want to get hung up on that because of the time we have here today, but you'll see it as it develops over time. I'm going to pause in a moment, give you a chance to ask some questions if you have them, but I want to get through this first little section. In even simpler terms, we're going to be asking ourselves, what results do we want? What services or benefits do we want? For who and at what cost? In other words, what is the district going to deliver? Who's it delivering it to? And what is the overall cost? Again, we're not going to focus on cost today necessarily, but it has to be affordable. It has to fit into your budget, etc. Here's the next to the last introductory slide. I just want to talk a little bit about how we're going to work today. It's a pretty straightforward process. Generally, I'm going to ask each of you to provide your input on each question. We have a handful of questions, I don't know, 6 or 8 of them. It's important that each person answer each question. And so what I'm going to ask you to do is, when I ask a question, ask each of you to find a scrap of paper. It can be a nice piece of paper, it can be the back of an envelope, it can be anything you want. And write out some notes for yourself. Don't just sit there and think about it, but actually write. I found that little bit of discipline yields better responses from people. And while one of the most important things is for us to hear from you, we want to hear what each of you think. We also want to listen to each other. I want each of you to hear what the others are saying. And I want you to be thinking about how we all build upon what each are saying and each are thinking and our different ideas, and how we can build on that to arrive somewhere together. So it's important to seek to understand others' points of view, especially if you disagree with them. What are they saying? What do they mean? Why do they think like that? And try to avoid just jumping into your arguments and your ideas. Try to pause yourself and think about listening to those other, your fellow participants. I know that this one's difficult in the current age. Most of us, including me, are somewhat addicted to our computers, our phones. They're just with us all the time. They're probably shaking and vibrating right in front of us right now. You may have a second computer screen that's getting emails. I'd really ask you to try to discipline yourself and not use those or minimize that today. Let's pay attention. It's just a morning. I don't think I need to tell this group. I think you're all quite courteous and understand how to work with other people, but it's worth mentioning. And then this final one is, as we're talking, feel free to raise a question, clarify something, make an extra comment if you want to. This thing keeps getting over this, but whatever. I'm not sure why it's there. There we go. That's appropriate. What we're not going to do today is we're not going to debate. We're not going to try to solve problems and settle them today. We're going to focus on listening, getting ideas on the table, understanding the situation together. And in the next session, that's where we'll start to build things together. We also want to hear from the public before we start settling things. We're planning to finish at noon. We're going to take a 5-minute break every hour. At the bottom of the screen, you should be able to see a timer already going. We'll stop within a minute or two of that timer. Just a 5-minute break. I found that's the best for most groups, and we'll go from there. And I'd encourage you to not worry about what we're doing or how much time we're taking. Let me worry about that. I encourage all of you to focus on the workshop itself. Any questions so far? Any comments? I know we have at least one member of the public with us, and I didn't discuss that with any of the staff or board, but what I'd like to ask is that we give that person a chance to comment in a moment when we're done with the introduction, about in the middle, and then at the end. But that this workshop is focused for the board and for Kevin, the general manager. We're going to have 2 workshops and other ways for people to communicate. We're going to give plenty of chances for people to communicate about this process, to give their input, etc. And that's coming up soon. Any questions, any comments? Otherwise, here's the last introductory thing. Unmute yourself if you want, speak up or wave your hands. I can't see chat very well, but you can also try to chat. And if someone sees a chat going on, you can, get my attention. There's a number of elements to a strategic plan. They can always be different, but I just want to show you a couple of elements that are typical, but they're different in every case. We're going to have goals, and that's the kind of biggest direction that's going to come from the board. Here's one from another district: long-term financial strength and affordability. We're going to have things called objectives, which we're not going to worry too much about exactly what's a goal and what's an objective, but an objective is a more detailed view about what we mean. And in this case, one objective is align long-term financial planning with our priorities. And then there's work plan items, and staff makes the work plan, and this is how they plan to achieve that goal and that objective. We're going to review our rates to align with our strategic priorities, our capital improvement needs, and changing conditions. So they're going to do something with their rates. And then there's another objective. It has to do with affordability, and they're going to figure out what does affordability mean and update their financial plan to address, that. So you can have goals and objectives in a number of ways. In this case, this column here is for priorities. There happens to be one high priority. The rest aren't prioritized. Someone who's responsible. This column is someone who helps them. This is when it's due. And over here, how often does this happen? It happens every year. This is a one-time. This is every 5 years. And so here's just another plan. They can all look different. This one's a lot more detailed. We're not going to go into it, but it includes some how much they're spending each year, how it relates to their budget and different their project management tools, how much is done, completion dates, budgeting for it, different things. We're not going to go into all of that, but it just shows in the end, you're going to have a plan that will have a number of elements, but the core thing in the end will be your goals and objectives from this board, and what we hear from the public, and then a staff work plan to carry it out. We'll also have a number of ways to monitor the plan over time, to provide board oversight over the plan and make sure it actually happens. But we'll worry about all of that later. With that, I'm ready to go forward unless there's another question right now. All right, you guys are going to be doing most of the talking from here on out. In each case, in each little section of this, we have a question up here in white, and we're going to have something down here that we're working on. The question here is pretty simple because I don't really intend to pause here long, but you were all sent a summary of the interviews, and I hope you had a chance to look it over. And I'm just simply asking, do you have a comment or a question about it? Did it raise a new idea for you? Do you want to say anything about it? Here's a moment if you want to. We're not going to dwell on this right here. Anybody? We're good? I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but did you have a chance to read it?
Yeah.
See a couple nodding heads. Okay. Hope so. Oops, what happened here? There we go.
I mean, I have a couple things to add to it, but I assume we'll be doing that later.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and comment? And just so you know, every time we're commenting, Kara is noting if it sounds like it, we need to comment on it. But go ahead, Kevin. What do you want to say?
Just in terms of the facility, I think in addition to the shower needing updating, the kitchenette as well will need a little bit of love sometime in the next 5 years. The pool deck as well is starting to deteriorate, so we're probably going to need to update that. Let me see here.
What did you have before pool deck?
The kitchenette.
Are you capturing these, Kara?
Yeah. Those are just some projects. I really broadly agree with many of the other items in here. Some of them I have some questions about, but I assume we'll get to that later. In terms of the programs, I did have a list of possible candidates for new programs.
Let's get that in a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And that's probably the biggest thing. Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure, Kara, are you capturing these things? You can unmute yourself. Let's just pause for a second. I want to make sure.
Yes, I do have it. It's for me to scrounge to the unmute takes a little bit of time. So
As long as you got it, we're good.
yeah, I have need more kitchen love, pool deck needs updating, and list of candidates for new programs we'll address later.
Okay, great. All right, good. And then remember, all of you, I can't see everyone, and it's hard for me to watch chat. So if you want to speak up, just speak up. There's not that many of us. There was also this document sent out, and a couple others related to the LAFCO action and whether the city wants to take over the district. It was sent to you just, I believe, yesterday, maybe, or maybe the day before. I just summarized the key messages from that staff report. Kevin also wrote a staff report with a little more insight, but the city staff itself said that because of the facility size, its restricted layout, its limited parking capacity, that could limit program offerings, participation numbers, and profitability, they had a lot of concerns about the facility. They also needed to make quite a few infrastructure improvements because they operate under different standards than you, more strict standards. They also commented that even if they took it over, it wouldn't add any aquatic opportunities for Cupertino residents. And the whole thing could cost them somewhere between, say, roughly 350 or 60,000 and $500,000 or more. So the staff were basically recommending not to go forward, and the board had the city council had a more mixed response saying, let's wait to hear from all of you. So one topic certainly for this group here, and we'll get to that, is, you know, whether what the board's position will be on this. And I think that won't be decided today. We want to hear from the community too, but it's certainly a big topic. And I just wanted to quickly ask, does anyone want to ask Kevin anything about this? He sat in on the city council meeting. He wrote you a staff memo, but do you want to clarify anything, or just before we move on, so we all have sort of the same fact base here? Anybody?
This is Jennifer. I was at the meeting also, and Kevin did a wonderful job. He was so professional. So I'm very, very happy with the input that he gave.
Thank you.
And I will just mention, since I am a resident of Cupertino, I'm not real happy with the way the city's been running the other big pool at the other end of town. And I think that it's important that the city understand that they need to be using that pool 24/7 if they could. But I think that to me, it seemed like the city staff thought that the Rancho Rec pool was not going to provide an answer to the issues that Park and Rec was having with the big Blackberry Farm big pool. That's all I'll say. But Kevin did a wonderful job. Very happy with him.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else? Good. Again, I hope you had a chance to read this. It's not strictly necessary that you have a full grasp of all these details today, but it's certainly probably certainly the largest sort of strategic issue that's facing the district currently. Okay, now we sort of really enter proper into the workshop, and the first real question for all of you. I call this rating the district, and what this is really about is, let's just understand how things are going today before we start talking about the future. And what I'd like each of you to do, here's the instructions up here. Hopefully you can see them. I'll make them a little bigger. Usually groups like them a little more like this big. Hopefully, is that still visible on all your screens? Okay. I'd like you to each think of 3 to 6, maybe at the most, aspects of the district to rate. And we're going to rank them from 1 to 10, with 10 being excellent or amazing and 1 being horrific, terrible, incompetent, whatever you want to call it. And you're going to choose what you want to call out. And when you call something out, you want to think about, by calling it out, you're making a statement. Either you want to draw everybody's attention to something that you believe is really great about the district and you want to show that high score, or you want to call attention to something that you think isn't working well or is really a problem, and you want us to notice that, or you want to do a couple of them. And so I'm just asking each of you to think about a couple of aspects of the district. It could be anything, you know, programs, facilities, staff, governance, funding, LAFCO, anything at all, the neighborhood, how you work with the neighborhood, public outreach, you pick it. And what I want to do is have you rate it and then include a few words explaining why you gave it this ranking. So here would be a simple example. I'm giving finance an 8 because we have great reserves and solid finances, but we need better reporting. The board doesn't understand the finances that well, but they're really good finances, I believe. And then I want you to add this one little note, an E if you think it's something that is helping our success or enabling success, that's the E for enable, or a C if you think it represents a challenge to us. And that's just to help me make sure I understand your point later when we're dealing with these notes. But so I'd like each of you to pause, grab that piece of paper, can be an envelope, the back of a box, whatever you got. Pick 3 to 6 things to rate them, and I'm going to ask each of you to share your ratings in turn. So take a few minutes, and then I need you to indicate when you're done. The easiest way for this is chat, if you know how to do chat. If you don't know how to do chat, just wave your arms around or unmute yourself and say you're done. And we'll give you a few minutes to do this, and you just indicate when you're ready.
This is Kevin C. What are we rating right now?
You're rating anything. I don't know if you heard me, but I'm asking you to just think of any aspect of the district that you want to draw attention to. It could be something great, and you want to, indicate that this is something great that we should all recognize. It could be something really poor, and you want to draw our attention to something poor that you think we need to talk about. It could be something in between that you just think is important for us to notice. And so these topics are some of the things we may end up talking about as we go forward. So you're picking, and I don't want a ton of things. Pick the 3 to 6 things you think are most important for us to hear about your thoughts related to what's working well and what's not.
Okay, got it.
Hey, this is Nupur.
I knew
So-
for.
I think I'm ready.
Okay, good.
I
Thank
think
you.
facilities are.
Wait. I don't want to hear yet till everyone else is ready.
Okay, I will mute myself again. Let me know when.
Yeah, hang tight and we'll get to everyone, but Nupur is ready.
I'm ready as well.
Who was that?
Kevin?
This is Jennifer. I'm ready also.
I'm ready as well. This is Misha.
Okay, thank you, Misha.
I'm ready as well.
Kevin. And are we missing
Steve,
and Nakul?
I'm ready.
Okay. Tell us when you're ready, Steve. We'll get going.
we might as well start. I've got a couple.
All right. I'm going to just go in the order that I have people written down. There's no meaning to the order. And we're going to just capture what you guys are saying down here. So if it looks like we're not capturing it right, correct us. Go ahead, Steve. Give us one.
All right. Flexibility of staffing. Our ability to stay open during COVID-19 is a strength. I rated it at least an 8.
And is that because you mean something about the way we're set up, we can move people around a certain way, or you mean the staff being flexible in the way they react and they figured out how to get it done?
The latter is what I'm,
Okay, figured out how to get it done.
figured out how to do that. And
Good, thank you.
And that's an E category.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, let's go to Kevin. Is it Chow?
Yes.
Okay, Kevin.
Awesome. I'm thinking management. So management in general, from what I've seen, has been great. Very organized. So I'd give it a 10. The next step is I think just outreach to the community has not been the best.
Let's hold on, Kevin. Let's just get one at a time so we can hear from other people.
Okay.
But since you started, I'm going to let you cheat once. Outreach to the community. Tell us the rest of that one.
Yeah, so I think just in general in the community, a lot of people are I mean, this kind of harps back at one of the other issues is, in general, not a lot of people know about the existence or the hours of operation, what the status is of the pool. And so I feel like, even being a resident of here, it wasn't until maybe half a year ago or a year ago that I knew about the existence of the pool and that it's open and the hours of operation and things like that, and what people can do there. And so I think that's been lacking. And so I'd give that, a 5.
Okay. Good. That's good. Thank you. Let's go down to Kevin Davis.
All right. I'm actually going to go with the financial area. I gave it an E, and I rated it as 7. On the positive side, we have great reserves, and our net income is relatively strong year to year. But on the internal side, I think we're really needing to revamp a lot of our internal processes. And one of the big ones, of course, is at some point accepting electronic payments, figuring out how to do that, and also maintaining a strong paper trail for the audit. So it can definitely be better.
So when you're apart from the electronic processing, which is obviously a practical benefit to someone, the other revamping, it's not because you're necessarily worried about something, but just for sort of due diligence, making sure you have proper, and auditable activities. Okay,
Correct. Yes.
good. Misha.
I said kind of staffing in general, but mainly staff retention. I gave it a 6, and I consider it to be one of our challenges.
In what way?
Just kind of the level of turnover that we're at right now, that we're seeing every season. I feel like that could be improved, especially in kind of keeping some of the staff that we have, during the summer, so that way they can be put into management positions or higher level positions for the next year.
Okay. And is this an outgrowth of COVID, or is this a general issue, you think, regardless of COVID?
I mean, I'm sure Kevin and Steve can answer this a bit better because they've been here longer, but from what I can tell, it's not as a result of COVID.
Okay, good. We'll leave it at that for now. We won't get a lot of their input because we'll be discussing all these things. What we're basically doing, to clarify, because people always want to discuss, is we're basically getting everything out on the table. We're trying to hear everything, and later we're going to put it together and deal with it. Nakul, and am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yeah, that's great. So I would also agree a lot with the issues brought up on the facility and community engagement, not necessarily issues in a negative way, but just things to talk about. But I would add one more, which is very specific, but it's the parking situation. And I would say that's I put a C for that one. And I would rate her like a 4 out of 10. I know that it gets very crowded sometimes, and I think we've had numerous times where like parking has overflown into the sort of the neighborhood streets after the pool. Fortunately, that's been like very occasional, like very rare, but it has been an issue, and I think we have to figure out some solution to that problem. I don't know what it is at all, but I'm sure we can figure out something that might be beneficial to at least decrease the amount of parking spaces being used up.
Okay, and just quickly, is that something that is known to annoy the neighbors?
I guess on my street it's been annoying when it happens, but it's not really happened all that much for anyone to care too much. But like I think again, this is before I came on the board, but they had advised a lot of people. I think we had a sign put up saying, hey, like you guys can't park in streets after the pool. So I think that helped deter a lot of overflow parking.
Okay, good. Thank you. And Nupur?
Hey, so I think, again, I agree with Nakul because I live in the community too, and the parking was a problem. But other than that, the facilities, I would give an 8. Finances an 8, which is both very well managed, and I could understand the finances. So they're really well organized and managed and run really well. Outreach and communication with the public in general is something that we desperately need to improve on. And I know that Kevin gave it a 5, but I think it's a little bit more closer to a 3.
Okay, let's pause there. Let's let Kara catch up. And so you snuck in 2, so that was clever. Well, hold on, and we'll capture your outreach one in just a sec.
Okay.
Are you ready for that, Kara, or are you having trouble getting that click? There you go.
No, I'm good. I'm totally fine.
That was a 3?
Yes.
Okay, good. And I forget your comment about the 3, just inadequate. Was that basically what you were saying?
Yeah, and communication with public also. Just putting it up on a website that people don't know exists does not help, in my opinion.
Okay. So one detail is the website isn't people don't know that it's available. Okay, good. And then Jennifer, there's so few people. I would encourage you not to want to speak up at every opportunity, but you said you had something here, so we'll take your comment. And Kara, recognize that it's a member of the public, because we're going to keep all the public comments organized separately. But go ahead, Jennifer.
Yes, I've been attending the all the meetings for this since probably 1995. I'd say that the pool facility gets a 10 or an E. It's clean and pleasant, and it's very nicely set up and maintained. And it's, as far as I remember, it's always been that way. And I am sure that the challenges of the COVID meant that they just had to do more and more of that. So I'm always very, very pleased whenever I go into the facility or interact, that it looks very professional, very clean, very well maintained. And I'm very, very happy to have it in the neighborhood and that I can go there as a member of the public.
Great. Thank you, Jennifer. Steve, back around to you. Can we have a second one?
I've been struggling to, everybody else has covered the ones that I've written.
You can raise them again. I'm interested in hearing what you came up with, even if you can mention it's a repeat, but.
Right. It's again, financial stability, I'd give at least a 7 or an 8 to, let's call it an 8, that our funding has been adequate to maintain the facilities over time, long range, when and if the pool needs replacing. Last time it would cost nearly $700,000, and next time it'll be more.
Right. Okay. Good. Thank you. Let's take a couple. Do you have another one?
My other one was outreach. We need to work on that. It's difficult trying to figure out how to do outreach. Next door looks like one avenue, but using it in the past has led to arguments, a lot of misinformation, put something out there and have people jump on us. That was a couple of years ago when things were going more contentiously than they are.
Steve, can you, I'm not following what's causing arguments as far as outreach?
Just the tool. You can put next door. I don't know if you're familiar with
next door. Okay.
Software thing. Steve, what number would you give to outreach?
I'd give it a 6 from because I think we've been trying and increasingly trying. We need to try more and find successful ways to reach out. And I think this outreach plan we have that we're working on now, it promises to give us a better result.
Okay, great. Let's just move on. Kevin Chow. How about a couple if you have a couple? Are you there, Kevin? Did we lose you? Let's go to Kevin Davis while we see about Kevin Chow. Let me see here. I'm going to ask to unmute. There you go.
Sorry about that. I just stepped away. What was that?
Do you have any more ratings to share?
For any other specific topics, or?
Yeah, even if it's repeats, I'd like to hear what you have to say about them.
No, I think in terms of ratings, I think really it's, and yeah, I mean, kind of along the lines of outreach and just clarity. Like even now, I don't know, what the status is of whether the pool's open or not, how to utilize the pool. If my kid wants to use the pool, like what's the procedure, right? And so I think it kind of goes along those lines. But I think it's really just, one, kind of the fact that the pool is there for public use, and then two, how to go about using it if one wanted to use it. And I think that's the kind of the major issue.
And what number would you give to outreach, just so we have a rating?
Again, I mean, I think it's probably like a 4 or 5.
Okay.
And then in terms of clarity of how to utilize the pool, it's also kind of vague too. So
Okay, good. So that's it for you, Kevin?
yes.
Okay, Kevin Davis.
All right, thank you. I'm going to go with staffing. Staffing is honestly, it's one of our really big strong points. It's also one of our major weaknesses. The positive things about our staff is they're energetic, they're intelligent, and in general, very great people. The hard part right now due to COVID is that we have extremely low numbers, and it's going to take a lot of time to build up. This is this is the first job for a lot of people, so that takes a little bit more effort on our part. And of course, turnover, both because of the age group that we're working with, and also because our operation is seasonal. And so because it's seasonal, we can't give enough hours in the winter. We end up losing people. We lose the opportunity to work with people to really, build them up to the point where they can become supervisors or managers. So overall, I would rate this an E just because they are awesome. But I think it is also a challenge. So I rated it a 6 because again, it's very difficult with the low numbers and turnover. We really only expect about 3 to 4 years out of most of our staff, which is great, all things considered.
Okay, great. Thank you, Kevin. Misha, and if you have a couple, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the topics that I mentioned was already brought up by Kevin C. He mentioned management. I kind of just phrased it as operations in general. I gave it a 9, and I think it's an E. Honestly, I think Kevin does a really great job in making sure everything runs smoothly. And then programs, I gave an 8, and I also labeled that as an E. It just seems like everyone loves the programs that we have currently.
Okay. And then, Kara, if you have a moment and you can split that program one off into a separate sticky, that'd be great. If you can't, that's also good. So thank you, Misha. Nakul?
Yeah. So I honestly also had a lot of the same stuff. As far as the facility, I said that was an E. It's a 7 out of 10, 7 or even 8 out of 10. There's, I think it's nice, the diverse set of things that we can do with the facilities. And I mean, I know there's a play structure and like a sort of like a half court basketball court. Both of those things are I know that they haven't been sort of updated in a while. But otherwise, like as far as the pool, which is like the thing that people use most, and the sort of the room, right? The extra sort of multi-purpose room, both of those things are being used very well.
Can I interrupt you? Martin, I'm having trouble getting kind of back.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, everyone. Sometimes this software is a little bit finicky.
Oh, here. Okay, I'm back. So you were talking, your topic is, you gave it a 7, but I missed.
Would you summarize it again? I'm sorry, Nicole.
No worries. Yeah, the facility is very helpful for everyone, and it's a very stellar facility in terms of the pool and the multi-purpose room. I would say just that there's a basketball court and a play structure. I think those things haven't been updated in a while.
Okay, out of date. So, do you have another one?
Yeah, I mean, my other one was also in regards to the community engagement. I would put that as a 3 out of 10. and that's definitely a challenge that I think we are all sort of cognizant of.
Okay. Is there a particular element of engagement that you're most concerned about? A few people have mentioned specific things, like we just heard about, I don't even know, it's not even clear how you can use the pool, et cetera. Or just generally the community engagement is not as good as you'd like it.
I would say the latter. Like I actually do think that it even took us a while to find out more about the pool. And so I would definitely say actually that there could be, and I don't know the way to do this, but again, there could be just more outreach, right? But I would say overall, I guess I'm just not satisfied with the number of people who know that the pool exists.
Right.
And I, again, like I personally haven't had any problems because I sort of grew up with it, like knowing it was there. But even when I was younger, it took a while for my family to find out about it. So that's sort of been my experience.
Okay, great. Thank you. Nupur.
I think I was about to just bring up the play structure because it does look a little bit outdated. So maybe having that updated will help a little bit more.
Did
But
you say
other than
pool
that,
structure?
the play structure, yes.
Play.
Nicole just mentioned, yeah.
Okay.
And other than that, the facilities to me are excellent. I've already said that. And then
Before you move
I
on,
agree again.
before you move
Sure.
on, would you give just a rating to the play structure?
Probably a 5 or a 6 because I have actually seen kids play on it as I drive in and out of the community, but not as many as I see just out and about in the area where the tables are, just playing.
Okay. All right, great. Then are there any others? So I think we've kind of gone around. Does anyone else have one to share?
Jennifer, am I?
Okay, go ahead, Jennifer.
Yes. I'll just put I'll put a shout out for the basketball half court because I see it used. You know, I grew up with three brothers and they all love basketball. So I do see kids using the half court on an ongoing basis, especially when you drive in and out of Chelmsford or up and down Lawrence. I'm sorry. What is that? Bollinger. So it seems, yeah, it may need updating. I don't really know that much about it, but I see mainly kids out using it. And it's nice because it's something that older, maybe teens and preteens can use, especially. I want to be gender sensitive here, but there's a lot of young males out there using it. I'm sure girls could too, but I think that it's nice to have something that the teens can use. And then do you want me to mention any other items?
No, I'd actually, I don't want to be rude, but we're barely going to have enough time for the board and we're going to have special times for the public. So I would encourage you to sort of hold to what you feel you have to share and we'll reserve.
I'll just put in, since there have been.
Just for the board.
Yeah, the finance, I give an E. I have been there through everything. The board and the staff have run the district professionally with full accountability, very, very professional. I'm very impressed. I used to work in IT at an engineering company, and I've been through these types of things before. I am very, very impressed, and I give it an E all the way. And the other thing is, I'll just say that everyone at the special district, the staff, are very, very friendly. And I give that an E. I think that needs to be brought up. They're very friendly, accommodating, and welcoming. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. Carol, will you mark those 3 as a member of the public? Just again, we're just tracking public comments separately. Does anyone else have any additional ratings? Just speak up. Okay, well, good. I don't think any of this surprises any of us. It's helpful for us to, you'll see later in the process, have this information together. It's going to help us as we move forward, but we're going to just move on. We're going to go through a couple exercises where we just get out ideas. we'll start putting it together before we leave today. Here's another exercise. It's kind of similar, but it's focused on the future. And the question is up here, this area. Taking account of the community's needs, as well as the business environment, I wrote regulatory environment. I don't know if regulatory is big for you guys, but anything that the district is expected to face in the coming years, thinking about these things is an important step in thinking about the strategic plan. So we talked about how things are today. Let's look at the future. So here's the question, the actual question in yellow or gold. Please take a moment to look into the future as far as you are able and consider what the upcoming challenges or opportunities that you believe are critical for the district to proactively prepare for. In other words, if you were to pick out just a couple of the most important things that you want to make sure the district actively prepares for, what are those and why? So of course the district's going to try to deal with everything we talk about. And there's probably literally, if we sat down and thought about it, and especially if Kevin Davis were part of the conversation, hundreds or thousands of individual activities to worry about. But what are the couple of biggest things that this district needs to tackle, whether it's a challenge or an opportunity, and why? Please write the most important ones down, explain why, and include the enable or challenge, the E or the C. So look into the future. I would encourage you to look, say, at least 3 to 5 years. That's probably adequate in this case, but if you have a concern that's farther in the future, that's fine. It's also worth thinking about just before you get going. If you remember, I don't know if it was in the interviews, but someone in the interviews commented that the demographics of the community are changing a little bit, that there's less children. I don't know if that's true, but one person said it. Less young people. Maybe there's, after COVID, there's, harder to get young people to work. We're not sure if their parents will let them work and come be in a public place, how soon and when. Think about the world around us in those kinds of ways and others. What are the things we have to deal with? There's the LAFCO, there's many other things you could possibly put down. Limit yourself to maybe, let's say 3 to 4 things at the most. So go ahead, please. And again, just indicate when you're ready through chat or through just speaking out.
I'm just going to bring up the part about the children.
Could you hold on? I want to wait till we hear, till everyone has a chance to think.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, because that's a total falsehood.
And this is Nupur, I'm ready.
Thank you, Nupur.
This is Kevin C. I'm ready as well.
Okay.
And D, ready.
Okay.
This is Misha, I'm ready.
Thank you, Misha. And so I had to step up for a minute. Nicole and Steve, where are you?
I've got, Steve, I've got some stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got 2 written down.
Okay. Let's go in a slightly different order. Nupur, since you were first, I think, why don't you go ahead?
Okay, so this is Nupur. So I think the challenge is C is going to be the elementary school shutting down in Cupertino, or at least talk of having that done, is going to be a challenge, because that just clearly shows that kids of that age group are not going to be in the community as much. So we might need to switch to different programs being offered just to make it financially viable. And then a definite enabler, in my view, is the increased median income in the neighborhood should enable us to increase prices, or at least a little bit. So that should be a good thing.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And just to clarify, the elementary school situation, obviously it's semi-permanent if they're shutting the school down, but is that expected to be a long-term or a semi-permanent trend?
I believe it is. My kids are not of that age group, so I'm not really very tuned into the elementary school situation. I just hear a lot of chatter about that.
Okay.
So it is, apparently there's a lot going on with Cupertino school districts.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So
How about
that
Nicole?
is permanent or temporary?
It's not being shut down.
I think shutdown would probably be permanent.
Or at least permanent enough to shut a school down.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go with that. Yeah, we don't need the exact answer here today, but it's
Okay.
The
certainly
schools aren't being shut down. They're not shutting down Hyde or Sedgwick.
Jennifer, were you just saying they're not shutting the school down?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm very, very aware of what is going on. I go to all the city council meetings and have been going to the school district. If anyone is saying there are no young people in Rancho, they don't know what they're talking about. It's been up and down for the last 75 years, but at this point, there are no immediate plans to shut down Hyde, which is the junior high, or Sedgwick, which is our elementary. Believe me, I would know about it. So I don't know why. Yes, you might put that in there, but believe me, we will fight hard to make sure that those schools are not shut down. It is a flashpoint for the neighborhood. And I don't, I understand that. I don't have children, but we are very, very concerned about the pressures. They want to rent Hyde out because of its location.
Okay,
And to me, that is
Jennifer, I don't want to go down that path right now because it's
okay. That's fine. Believe
another
me.
topic.
Yes. Then when it comes my turn, I am not. I don't think there's any lack of young people in Rancho. Thank you.
Nicole?
Yeah. So I would definitely say, first of all, like I think we start off with this, but I think COVID is definitely, and it's debatable whether it's an enabler or a challenge. I would perceive it to be maybe a combination of the both of the two, but definitely I would right now mark it as a challenge, just given everything going on, and it's going to be a challenge, I think, not just in terms of like in the future what might be. But whether or not things might be opened up, but it more so even just adapting to a different lifestyle, right? I think people may choose to after maybe lockdowns are done and we reach herd immunity, that a lot of people want to use the pool immediately. That's something we have to be ready for. And the reverse might also be true, that people have sort of adapted to home life and they don't want to come back to the pool as often because it's just not as natural for them anymore. So it really depends. There might be something having to do with like making sure people who use the pool are vaccinated, right? We don't know what those logistics are. And I think that's the biggest question mark right now. The second one I would definitely say is in relation to the Cupertino Parks and Recreation sort of issue right now. Definitely we're trying to get as much community input on that issue right now as much as we can. And I think that might end up being a challenge 5 years from now. We'll see how things go. And then the final thing for me would basically just be, and this is something that was already mentioned, just the growth of Cupertino as a city, sort of. I think that we'll end up seeing even more people sort of coming in. Even if it's not Cupertino, it might be San Jose or neighboring cities, and there'll be, in my opinion, an increased demand for the pool because of that.
Okay, thank you very much. Misha?
Yeah, do you want me to say all three of mine? Or
yeah, go ahead. We've kind of done that. If you have three, go ahead.
Okay. The first one, it's not really far into the future. It's more short term, but the survey responses that we get regarding LAFCO from the public about whether or not they would want to see the county be integrated into Cupertino. I think we all kind of have a hunch as to what we believe people will respond, but if they respond in a different manner, I think that's something that we haven't really mentally prepared for. And we, it would be a little bit unexpected. The second thing.
Before you go on, are you implying that you believe that the public will be supportive of the district staying independent, but what if they're not? Is that what you're really saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Hold on 1 second, I'm stuck here.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, sorry folks. Once in a while this software just it gets very finicky about how you enter into it. There you go. Are you ready for the second one, Kara?
No.
Not yet. Just tell us when you are.
Okay. I'm almost there. Okay. If I could just finish with that comment. How do you think, so you have a hunch of how they'll respond. How do you think they will respond?
She thinks they'll respond supportive of the district's independence.
Okay. Okay, I'm good.
Okay, on to your second comment. Thank you, Misha.
Yeah, no worries. So the second one was kind of changes in climate. I know that there were some discussions before most of us started our term about having a dome over the pool, so that way the pool could be open for longer in the case that, the warmer weather months might be a little bit shorter. But yeah, and then the third one, just kind of like a very general observation that I've had among like kids is that with each, as time goes on, I feel like more and more kids are more reluctant to spend time outdoors. I have two older brothers who are a decade older than me, and they spent a lot more time outdoors and going to the pool and everything than I did. And so I feel like if we see a progression in that kind of culture, then that's something that we would have to prepare for, just to see, less attendance number among that age group.
Okay, good. That's an interesting one. And do you have a third one? Or have we hit three?
We hit three. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Kevin Davis.
All right. So, maybe it doesn't need to be mentioned. Obviously, the LAFCO issue is an existential issue, and so it's going to be a big one. Whether or not the district continues to exist would be, of interest going forward. I think that's a challenge. The second really big one is staff shortage. It's kind of related to COVID, so just building on what Nicole was talking about. With COVID, we don't know what's going to happen. It could be a huge rush to get back to the pool, or maybe not. We don't have a lot of staff right now because of turnover, and also some people don't want to work, some people's parents don't let them work, and we just don't have a lot of hours. But once that opens back up again, we're going to be left with a very, very, very small staff, and these things take time to build that back up again. Train people up. Our supervisor and manager level is getting hollowed out. It takes several years to prepare those employees for that level of responsibility. So that's going to be a really, really, really serious challenge for the next 4 to 5 years. And the final one is that, and this one is actually a challenge and an opportunity, is capital improvement. It's a challenge because it's not in our area of expertise. Capital improvements for government agencies, there's some regulations that make it a little bit trickier. And so that could be difficult for us, but it's also an opportunity because when we do these capital improvements, we have an opportunity to make the facility better, to make it more amenable to future programs, to future needs, particularly in the area of the bathrooms, for example, but even our pool. Building off of what we potentially were watching in the pool, we could serve the public during, for year round, and maybe even help our staff to grow during that time by providing help. So it's kind of a mix of both. I wouldn't say it is a huge challenge, but it's also a huge opportunity.
Okay, great. Do you have more, Kevin, or are those the big ones for you?
Those are the big ones. One of them was kind of two. The staff shortage and COVID is kind of like that.
Combined up.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, on the staff shortage COVID, it's possible that you're facing this problem as soon as the summer, right? I mean, this isn't like necessarily just a year from now or something. It's right on you right now.
It's right on top of us. So if, for example, the county says, hey, you know what, you can do lessons this summer, that's going to be challenging for us. We can't, just snap our fingers and have people trained. It takes time to get that to happen. So typically in a normal year, we'll start recruiting in January for people in June. So, so if the county gives us 2 weeks, it's going to be tough.
Right. Okay. Kara, if you can get that last comment into the previous one on staff shortage, that would go more properly there. If you have a moment to do that.
Okay.
Let's see. Kevin C.
Yes. Awesome. So kind of along those lines, I think there's really in terms of the staff shortage, I guess preparing for that, assuming that it's going to remain independent, then we would want to gear up for that. And I think we need to dig more deeper into why that's difficult currently, Kevin. Is it just like a budgetary issue? And so I think assuming that more people are utilizing the pool and more people become aware of the pool, then I think the other issue is staffing is definitely a big factor, right? Because even if people are aware of it and want to utilize it, then you have to have the capability to operate it. And so if it's a big issue now, then we should probably definitely prepare for it. And so the other side of it is understanding to do that, right? And so maybe examining what we can do to prepare for ramping up staff, whether it's increasing salary, whether it's increasing salary, or it's increasing the pool that you're reaching out to for applicants. And I think that would be, so assuming Rancho remains independent. If it doesn't, then it's kind of all a moot point. It doesn't really fall on us. But if we remain independent, then figuring out how to plan for those things and kind of retain a more durable staff, right? Where they can come back every season and at least have some longevity when they are there. I think kind of a deeper dive into that would be good, and then us figuring out how to prepare for that, right? And so we definitely want to figure out like what are the issues there with staffing and how we can resolve that. And then the other one is, I think somebody touched upon it too, maybe raising rates, right, for usage of the pool. I think in general around here, the median income is fairly high, and so I don't think people would be opposed to an increase in the fees if we're having trouble staffing because of monetary issues or financial issues, then maybe we can examine the fees. And then also kind of capital improvements. I think if right now, if we're underutilizing that area, and I was just kind of reading through some of the reports that were sent, but if the area is not utilized the best way, if the area is not being maximized in terms of usage, then kind of figuring out, okay, if we are able to increase usage, that would also benefit from the financial perspective. And so maybe examining those routes too. But then, you know, and maybe it's reversed where it's utilized, and you know, COVID's going on. Maybe this is a time to just kind of get those projects in place.
All right. So, Kevin, do you have another one, or does that wrap yours?
I think the other one is children. In you know, from what I've seen, I think the neighborhood, you are going to have more children in this neighborhood, because I think just naturally, as sales turn over in the area, and I'm in real estate, so you kind of see this. Most of the people that are moving in, you know, kind of myself included, are going to have younger children that if we know about the pool, right? I certainly want my son to utilize it too. So I feel like in general, if homes are turning over in this area, whether it's sales or rentals, in general, it's going to be, you're going to have more kids moving into the area, right? And then that kind of ties back to the outreach. If more people know about it, then I think more people will utilize it, you know, because and that's assuming that they know about the pool. So I think usage is not a problem. I think the demographics will eventually increase where there's more younger children in the area, as opposed to like older generations that have been here for a while.
Okay. And do you have any more, or does that wrap it?
I think that's it. I mean, I think that's kind of
okay. All right. So the little timer went off a few minutes ago. I wanted to finish with Kevin C. I know Steve and I think Jennifer has something to say, but let's take a break. I would like to ask you to limit it to 5 minutes and really be back here in 5 minutes. And we'll just come back in 5 minutes. So it's 9:37 on my clock, 9:38 actually. So 9:43 or so. Really, let's try to keep it to 5 minutes. I'll see you in a few. Are you good, Kara?
Yes, I'm good.
Okay, good. Yeah, you can take a little break too, unless, is there something we need to clean up here, or it looks like I think you're pretty caught up.
Yeah, I'm caught up. I mean, I'll have to make some spelling corrections, but I got everything.
Okay, great. I'm going to be back in 1 minute.
Okay.
If you want to go to the grocery store later on, before lunch, I didn't really have much. And you can get stuff. And then you can get whatever you want. Hello? Hello? Yeah, we're having them. Yeah, how are things going? Good. No, no, just, I'll let me do that. We'll get, when we get a chance, we'll get the other one activated, but just use this one for now. Yeah, no, don't do that yet. We have to get. Yeah, no, we're probably gonna, no, I'm not losing the other one. We'll probably be doing that next week. No, it's going to be the other one. I just have a new number too. I have two numbers. Yeah, I have my old number. (408-489-4172). Yeah, so I have currently, yes, and I'll be doing that next week.
Do we have anybody back?
Yep, I'm here. This is Kevin C.
Hi, Kevin.
I'm here as well. This is Misha.
Hi, Misha.
Kara's here.
Hey, I'm back, Nupur here.
Thank you, Nupur.
I'm back as well.
I'm back. Jennifer's back.
Okay, I think, did we hear from Kevin D?
Kevin's back.
Okay. Is that everybody? Do we know of any? Steve?
I'm back.
Okay, I think we're good then. Before we get going again and completing this with Steve and Jennifer, Kevin D, would you just take a moment? There was some question raised about the nature of the staff shortage. What is it about?
Sure. Yeah, the staff shortage is it's not a budgetary issue at all. There was a bit of a hiring freeze last spring. And so part of it is that if we hire a whole bunch of people right now and nothing materializes this summer, then we're going to have a whole bunch of staff with no hours. And then we lose them for good, because then they're going to say, we signed on, to work with you, and now there's no hours. And then they'll leave and not come back, right? Conversely, if we don't have enough hours, we're going to overwork our staff, and then they'll say, forget this. This is way more than I signed up for, and they'll leave. So it's kind of a delicate balance between the two, and there's a risk either way. We could definitely try to hire now, but then there's that risk that we don't have hours in the summer. That's the nature of the problem.
But
Does that sum it up enough?
Kevin, you had explained one more thing to me, which is
Sure.
There's sort of a chain of progression. So when you stopped hiring during COVID last year, you sort of broke the pattern of people having a starter position, the next year having a higher position, and sort of having that training progression and that, I don't know, knowledge progression. Is that the case?
Correct. Yeah, and that's the other issue too, is that it does take a little bit of time for employees to kind of get up to the level where they can move through leadership. And we put a ton of effort into what the leadership pipeline, essentially. People, we earmark them immediately. We say, look, we know these new candidates have the potential to move up. We provide opportunities to do so. and then we can provide you know, different tasks that maybe other employees aren't doing. See, okay, how are they going to do? Do they do well at this? If they do, can we move them up more? Eventually into newer and higher positions. That's all been interrupted. And that's not necessarily something that can be repaired. When we have a low hiring year, that dip actually follows us for about 4 years. And then 4 years from then, when we kind of have a cliff of employment. So it's, I don't know if I'm explaining this well enough, but any kind of shift in employment affects us for years. And last year was big.
I think that's good enough for now. I just thought it's a complex issue. Wanted to make sure we knew what we were talking about. Steve,
Right.
How about you? What is your issues?
All right, well, I don't seem to have many new ones. Everybody else has brought them up, but my first one I came up with is managing user expectations with limited resources and capacity limitations. Traditionally, that's one of our problems, is that everybody wants a pool to offer a program that they want. And there's only so many hours it can be open that makes sense during the day, because not many people want to swim at night, you know, and not many children do. So so we have one pool and it needs weekly maintenance. So that's a difficult one to summarize in just a 2-word title.
Okay, got it.
All right.
So that's one.
That's one. Another one is also been identified. Ongoing maintenance and capital improvements are challenges always. We've been good about keeping up with those, and I think we can continue to do that because of our unique funding of half taxes and half revenues. But of course, right now we're taking in almost no user revenues. The other one high on my list is the one that you were just talking about, Kevin was just talking about, staffing challenge post COVID-19. You know, how fast can we ramp up? What will the demand be? You know, that's hard to tell. How people's attitudes have changed, as one of the other persons said, coming out of COVID-19, will they feel comfortable using a pool? Who knows? So for the next year or so, COVID-19 itself, emerging from it, hopefully, is going to, and staffing for that, and what people want, whatever that turns out to be, is going to be a big challenge. And of course, Kevin identified this whole LAFCO issue of whether the city wants to take us over or not is a big challenge issue going forward.
Okay. Does that cover you, Steve?
I think so. That's pretty much that's like I say, other people have brought up most of these things, you know, in different ways. But
No, that it's still helpful to hear from people so we know what everyone's thinking. And
Yeah.
then Jennifer, I think you said you had something to say.
Yes, thank you. I know this is, you guys are doing a fantastic job. I have been through strategics before with the city. I'll just start out kind of echoing what Steve said, which is the ongoing challenge of the LAFCO, City of Cupertino, either acquisition, takeover. I think that obviously is an ongoing. I grew up in a LAFCO area so I'm familiar with LAFCO very, very much. My parents dealt with it. But yes, this is an ongoing issue we need to be concerned about and try to stay in communication with all parties. I'll say too that there are other entities that might be interested in the property because of its location strategically next to the city of San Jose and the county. I think that those should be identified as things that the district needs to be concerned about ongoing. And as a member of the public, I'm concerned about it too. I'll just say, I think that as you all mentioned, the COVID situation has presented challenges, and like everyone is saying, it may or may not be an ongoing challenge, but I do think in the situation of having returning swimmers, I don't think if someone is dedicated to swimming, they will come back. I have a girlfriend right now who's 69. She is a formerly nationally ranked swimmer for Olympic level, and she is dying to get back into the pools in the International Swim Center in Santa Clara, where Mark Spitz trained, and she would like to come to the pool here as soon as it was available. And she's trying to get into 24 fitness pools now. So I'll just say at that point, there's a lot of swimmers will try to come back, but I understand the issues anyway. And yes, and I would say this, and I'll just speak briefly on this. The school closure situation is very, very volatile. It is something to be concerned about, but we've lived through things like this before. I'm 62 years old, and we've seen closures of schools and reopenings of schools. My husband's from the area. He's had schools opened and closed and reopened again. So this is cyclical. But yes, we have to be concerned about it. And I am concerned that the Hyde closure is for political, monetary advantage, but I won't go there. Anyway, thank you very much.
Okay, good. Are there any left over that we didn't hear from any of you?
Hey, this is Nupur. I just want to point out once more that I know that we're only considering the Rancho community when we're talking about public outreach, but we also have to keep in mind that the pool is used by more than just the people living within Rancho.
Yes.
So it's not, yeah.
Nupur,
Sorry, go ahead.
Why is it that you say that you're only considering Rancho in the outreach? Is that true that the outreach is limited?
No, when Jennifer was talking, she's talking about only this one particular school and how it's going to be a backlash when somebody tries to close it. It's not only about this immediate community, right? It's the larger group. If there's a demographic change coming up within the larger area, it's going to impact the pool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So you're talking about larger demographics, and I would point out that the question of whether a school stays open or closed is not the issue for your district. The issue is whether there's a change in the demographics, more or less kids of a certain age, more or less adults who are interested in swimming, et cetera. And whether or not the pool closes is important, certainly, to the community, but it's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the demographics. Anyone else?
Let me just ask a clarifying question here. When we're talking about demographics, what are we talking about? Are we talking about age groups? I'm a little bit confused, because to me, children and seniors need to be included in that also. Thank you.
Absolutely. I think any age, like what is going to happen with demographics of any age and whoever might possibly use the pool for any purpose.
Then I misinterpreted what demographics meant. Yes, no, I don't. Yeah, there are issues going on, but my husband grew up in parts of San Jose, which is now Cupertino. We were discussing the history of the pool because he has a lot of memories back even to the beginning. And there is a lot of issues going on in the surrounding cities, but I firmly believe that there will always be people coming to the pool because there's a lot of people that remember it. And remember the elementary schools and junior highs and high schools put out the word. My neighbor had 2 handicapped children 5 years ago.
Jennifer,
I'm gonna ask you the pool, and they learned about the pool from the school district.
Jennifer, I'd like you to pause. Thank you. You've given that comment. We've got it captured, and we need to move on. I'd like to move on to the next topic here, and we're gonna go directly to your customers, right, and find out what they want and what they think. But we want to at least keep it in mind here today the best we can. So we recognize that we're going to just straight up ask people what they think and what they want and hope we get enough people to answer. But I'd like you to pause and think about the people you serve, whatever age they are. And just a few thoughts about the way people interact with any organization and any service. People may think about what's called the attributes of service, like what is the quality of it, the value, how does it work for me? So they may think about your brand or image, like we've heard a little bit about your brand or image already, what people think, and how it is, what the service relationship is. Are you friendly? And someone's already said you're very friendly. Are you bureaucratic? Are you something else? I think it's clear you're not bureaucratic, but people experience the district in a variety of ways. Some people, it's purely transactional, like the attributes. I want to swim, or I want a lesson, and did I get good value for that money? So I'd like to ask just two simple questions. In general, what do people want from the district? And if you have an idea of a specific group, let us know who that group is. Who are you talking about? And what must we do to obtain and retain a high level of customer satisfaction? So in other words, what do people want, and what must we do to keep them, you know, interested in coming to the pool and participating in your programs? Again, I don't want to take too much time and too much effort on this because we're going to go straight to those people, but let's pause and think about them for a moment. And maybe you want to divide your answer into different groups. Maybe you know the community well enough to think, oh, these people think this and those people think another thing or want another thing, or maybe it's just a general answer. But I'd like each of you to pause, grab that scrap of paper or that sheet of paper, pad, whatever, and just jot down a few notes for us. And then again, just signal when you're ready, call out, type it into the chat, whatever you prefer.
And put here, I'm ready.
Okay, thank you.
Kevin, see, I'm ready as well.
All right, thank you, Kevin.
Kevin D, ready.
All right.
Yeah, Jennifer, I'm ready.
Thank you.
Nicole, and I'm ready as well.
Perfect.
I'm ready. This is Misha.
All right. We'll get started. I know you still may be working on it, Steve. We're going to go in a new direction. I'm just kind of randomly going through the group. How about you first, Misha, right now?
Yeah, honestly, I didn't have anything super specific in mind. I think the first thing that comes to mind was the comment that Steve made that everyone always wants like the programs that they want. And I think it doesn't hurt to have some more diversity in programs. And I think that's one of the things that our customers are looking for from us.
Do you have an idea what might be a diverse new program or programs, or just the general comment that we should think about that?
Not really. I don't have anything in mind. I don't think I'm creative enough to come up with a program idea. But I know that there are plenty of people within the community who have their own ideas about what they want us to implement in terms of programs.
Okay, so if I were to split that into the two categories we have, people want the programs they want, and so therefore what must we do? We must, like, you know, consider our programs again and look at them and be open to new ideas.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, good. So let's just go up the list. Kevin Davis.
All right. So I have basically the major group that I see using the pool is going to be families with young kids, specifically kids that are under 10 years old. I think that they really like us because we're family friendly. We have cheap services, or inexpensive services, I should say, and the services are good. You know, they meet the quality standard. I think to keep these customers happy, I think we just need to continue as is. But we could offer more offerings for for families. That could include things like an after-school program. We briefly started a baby class that was very popular. And so that would be something that we piloted it, basically a baby class. And I think that that's something that we could try to expand on, given enough staffing. The second major group, I think, would be working professionals, 45 through 65, somewhere in that group. And these are lap swimmers. And generally, they're very exercise oriented. They're just looking for reliable services and hours where they can come in and get that good workout. I think more hours, they'd be very happy with that. They'd be happy if we opened every day of the year, including Christmas. In terms of new programs, it's possible maybe to offer a master swim program, which would probably only a smaller subset would be interested in that. But a different area to go would be aqua aerobics. That one could be kind of a combination of stay-at-home parents and seniors. And it would also be during a period of the day where generally there's not a whole lot of programs going on. I think 10 a.m., drop the kids off at school, you're free to go, get your workout in sometime around that time. So that's the opportunity for that particular group.
Okay, good. So that was very specific. Thank you. Kevin C.
So what do customers want? I think in general, they're looking for, like Kevin kind of alluded to, there are different demographics, but I think just a good space where you can utilize the facilities, you know, whether it's with your kids or to work out. And I think it kind of harkens back to what a lot of us have mentioned, that I think just outreach, right? So I think what are the customer, it seems like what we have in place at the Rancho Pool is good. And I think the infrastructure is good. Everything from what I've heard is people like it generally. And so I think the way we're running it and what we have in existence right now is good. And it sounds like Kevin had also, you know, come across some programs where he implemented, like I didn't even know about the baby classes and things like that. But it's a really good program to have there. But I think, again, what we have in place is very good. It's just that people don't know that it's there. And so I think it goes back to saying, okay, here are these great programs that we have in place that you can utilize, but we need to make people aware that they are there and how to utilize it and what's the procedure. And so not only that the Rancho Pool is there, but also if you want to utilize it, what's the best way? Is it just showing up and then paying, the fee, or is there some kind of like reservation system and things like that? And so I think what we must do is increase awareness.
Okay, great. So you're really coming around to your previous comments, which were similar, right? How do you engage with the district and use the facilities, and how does it work? How do you learn about it?
Yeah, I think what customers want is we generally already have that from what I've heard, and I think everybody's very satisfied with the way it's been running. It's just that not many people, not as many people are utilizing it.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments related to this topic?
No, I think that's it. I mean,
thank you. Okay, good. How about you, Steve?
Let's see. What they've wanted traditionally is lap swimming, open swim, and lessons. And lessons is swim lessons is the only thing that's flow positive, revenue positive. Right now, under COVID, we lap swim, and also the other thing we have offered in the past is a swim team. And we're offering that too under COVID restrictions. We also have offered what people wanted was a meeting hall to rent, a barbecue space to rent, and that's a lot of it. As people have already commented, we were offering what people were asking for, generally speaking. And like I said, if we had more bandwidth to offer in terms of staffing, The problem with coming up with a new program is you have to have staff to man it who are qualified, like aqua aerobics, as Kevin pointed out. It's possible. We know there's a demand for it, but squeezing it in with the amount of utilization we had before was difficult. And so the other part, well, we're not going on to what must we do right now. Okay.
No, you can. We're just answering this question in general, however you want to answer it.
All right. And like I say, lessons have traditionally over the years been one of the lifebloods. Another standard in the warm. And I think that what we must do for the next year, specifically of COVID-19, is be open to change and flexibility. And that's what Kevin and the staff have been doing. Like I said, we're open at all and providing services is, I believe, unusual.
Okay, great. That gets us to Nakul.
Yeah. So as far as what people want, I think one of the first things that I sort of thought of was I know my sister would go for swimming lessons, and a lot of times parents would sort of line up in like the early morning hours just to book lessons for the summer. So I guess like booking lessons and an easier way to do that, maybe even online, would be a nice idea. And I don't know if it's possible given the constraints. I know we talked about electronic payments and those sorts of issues. But that's definitely something I think people would prefer to have, even though it's a one-time thing. And then after that, I would say I definitely think there's a large sort of market for people who want longer lessons that maybe occur less frequently throughout the week. So instead of like 20, I think it's 25 or 30 minutes, making it like an hour, right? Or where it's maybe just like Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays. And again, it's difficult given the staffing constraints we have, but I do think that's something people want. And then the final thing is actually touching on the parking situation I referred to earlier. I'm sure there's a lot of people who are just looking for sort of expanded parking, maybe even just directions where we can point people if they want to park like a couple minutes away from the pool and just walk instead.
Okay, thank you. Nupur.
I hate to be repeating everything everybody else has said, but I was also going to bring up just becoming more online friendly. Most of the people in the neighborhood are now more and more tech savvy. So we do need offer electronic payments and just the ability to be able to book classes and make reservations online. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up was with the changing income groups around the neighborhood, the quality expectations are going to be changing. Right now, what we do is really nice, but we need to keep competitive and keep aware of the changing quality expectations and just make sure we keep up with that.
Okay, thank you. Are there any more for you?
Nope, that's it.
Perfect. Jennifer.
Thank you. Just emailing my mother who had a tooth pulled yesterday. Speaking of seniors, now that I understand that we're talking about age groups here, I think that a lot of the customers that the special district serves are of their families, they're different age groups. I'll just throw in one thing that might be nice is if the pool could get a kiddie pool, that would be like a pool that would be 6 inches to 9 inches deep. There is quite a demand for that. I saw it a lot at a neighborhood pool when I was a kid, and it was nice when my mother used to take my younger brothers there because the young kids, the parents could watch them, but they can kind of go in and splash around. It's like a splash pool. And that might be something that would be a great attraction for Rancho Rec to put in. I don't think it takes a lot of space, but it might be a nice thing. And I think if the expectation would be that they would like to have this for young children, then all the pool would have to do is build it. Okay, yeah, that may cost money. The other thing is for seniors, we need to have programs that seniors would be attracted to, and I think the pool tries to do that. I know because of what's been going on that I and my friends are going to be coming more frequently to the pool. I have a stay-at-home mother friend in Sunnyvale who has 2 special needs children, and I will encourage her to come with me as my other senior friend. So yes, and then you have middle-aged adults that have work schedules, and maybe they want to get out of their houses from staying home and working from home, get away from, work responsibilities and come and swim. I think a lot of people have great expectations of the Rancho pool, and I think that the pool is sensitive to try to accommodate them. We have to accommodate, because of location now, we have to accommodate people in different cities and the county, and we have to accommodate and understand the desires of different age groups. But I think the kiddie pool would be something that would be really, really cool and is very doable. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any others from anybody that we missed? Are we good?
I think, Kevin, just to kind of reiterate, the online booking, I think would be very beneficial. And that kind of goes back to utilization, right? And so I think if you make it easier for people to use it, or first, if you make people aware of it, and then second, you make it easier for them to use, then I think naturally the usage is going to go up, and also awareness, right? And so I think you just want to create less friction in being able to utilize the pool and book it out, and just creating a clear procedure. And I think that'll come a long way. But yeah, that's a big thing that I feel would increase usage and just kind of increase awareness too. So you're kind of dealing with both issues.
Great, thank you. Carol, would you also mark the last one from Jennifer, the previous one?
Oh, yeah.
Public. Well, good. Anybody else?
Yeah. God, how to put this? It's traditionally, the problem doesn't seem to be in non-COVID-19 days. Traditionally, the problem hasn't been one of utilization. It's been of we have plenty of utilizers and not enough capacity. So capacity is a problem going forward. If we attract more people, it'll just increase demand for a limited resource, which is a pool, and the parking being a limited resource too, for people who drive there, which is maybe a majority of people. So I see that as a challenge that we've got to. That's more. If we could offer more, people would take more. But the problem is we're limited in capacity. I don't know.
Okay, thank you, Steve. And so Kevin D, I think some of your ideas went to that, right? Like the pool aerobics might happen during the middle of a workday where it's currently not full.
Yeah, that's correct. And the Master Swim program would be early morning. So most of the programs that I look at in terms of expansion or trying a pilot would be during times when there's not a lot of utilization, when there's a lot of parking, things like that. So I try to work around it.
Right. And then just for one other clarification, a good number of folks in different places have talked about like the electronic payments or electronic signups. That's useful in its own right, even if you're already full of people, right? Like that may be a customer service, even if you already get more people than you can take. I'm just pointing out that these things are not mutually exclusive. You could make it easier for people to sign up, even though already a lot of people sign up, just because it's more convenient. Okay, good. Well, thank you, everybody. This sort of concludes sort of one part of what we're doing. We're going to switch. It's not going to seem like we're switching gears, but we are about to switch gears. these three sets of questions, the rating the district, the challenges, and the what do customers want from us, all sort of, I call it sometimes creating a mess, getting everything on the table. So we have all these ideas out there, right? It would be hard for any of us to remember all of them individually, but I think they're all logical and sensible things. We remember probably more or less what was said. I want to sort of change here. Sorry, that's going to slide way away. Give me a moment. I'm going to rearrange the board a little bit. Just give me one moment to move things around. It's not behaving. Sorry, just give me a moment here. Okay. Good. We're going to switch gears here. And what I have here, it's a little, I'll try to make it as big as I think you can see it. Hopefully you can kind of see this whole thing. We've talked about all these different things. And what I'm going to ask you now is a very simple question. If you consider basically everything we've talked about, which is the range of issues, challenges, opportunities, what customers want, everything facing the district in the coming, I wrote decade, that was for another client really. I think for you, maybe the next 3 to 5 years. Identify a short list of key issues that you think the district must effectively respond to. It's very similar to that one question, but now having heard everybody and all the ideas, if you were to just say you had some magical power and said, look, you could pick 2 or 3 or maybe 4 things, and if you focus on them, they could get done. What are the couple of things you'd pick to get done, even if you had to not do other things? And I'm more interested in hearing not about a specific program or activity, which is the job of staff to worry about, like I want an aerobics program, but we need to improve our programs to make them more responsive. We need to solve this LAFCO issue. We need to have better outreach for people. Whatever all the different things we've heard about. And all these boards, forget about the boards right now. Just think about the question, which I'll blow up a little bit. Consider the range of issues, everything we've heard today and everything we've talked about and everything you know about the district. What are the couple of things that you think are most critical for the district to deal with if it's to meet its mission and service customers? If you had to pick, and it means you maybe are leaving something else behind and not getting something else done. So let's take a second to think about that. Again, write it down for yourself. If you want to see one of the boards to remind yourself of something, just speak up. We can slide over and look at that. Otherwise, we'll just answer the question. Okay, I'm going to step away for less than a minute. I got to answer a question from somebody, and I'll be right back. And again, just speak up when you're ready.
Kevin Davis, ready.
Ready. This is Misha.
Kevin C, ready.
Nope, we're ready.
I'm ready.
Jennifer, I'm ready.
Steve Weslowski, ready.
Okay. Good. So let's start with Nupur and hear what you have to share. Give us just one.
LAFCO. So I think that to me is the primary issue that we need to be concerned about. And to get that resolved in any direction, we need to focus on the outreach, because the LAFCO decision needs to be based on what the community wants.
Okay. Perfect. Let's go to Steve.
All right, ramp up the COVID-19 exit process to offer as many programs as we can.
So it's a program thing.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, where should we put that? Oh,
Program
program. Okay.
lower left.
Okay.
So go ahead, Steve. Will you say it again? It takes us a sec to keep up with you when we're looking around these boards.
Right. Ramping up the COVID-19 exit as we're able to legally offer more programs, ramping them up to offer as much as we can in terms of, programs that we can, and publicize them through outreach. It's kind of a combined thing. Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. Maybe, I don't know if it's even a useful question, but it's Kevin D's job to figure out how to do that, right? He mentioned some of the challenges he has, like if we hire people and they don't have much work, they may never come back. If we hire too few and they're overloaded, they may never come back. We have training problems, all these issues. So not necessarily worrying about all the details of the issues, because that's why you hire Kevin. But in your mind, is it worth the district expending additional resources, money, taking a little bit of a risk, maybe with finances, to be assertive about this versus, if there was two extremes, one, be as cautious as you can and protect everything, and the other one was be as assertive as possible and aim for more programs, more activity, more hiring. What would your thought be on that?
My thought would be somewhere in the middle ground, because we need to offer programs that people want, and as Kevin has said, figuring out what those are with the changing demographics and coming out of COVID is not going to be easy. But it's I wouldn't want to spend a fortune offering something that people don't want. We know what they wanted in the past, and our outreach, I think that's the key issue is this LAFCO thing. As I think Misha was the one who just renamed it, brought it back up, is that we're doing this, what we're doing today. One of the main reasons I understood is to try and respond to and find out what our public wants.
Okay. Good.
And so when we do know what we're going to open up, as we're going to open up more programs, we just got to publicize our available programs through outreach as best we can.
Okay, great. Thank you. Let's go to Nicole.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me, honestly, is just the electronic sort of payments and using the website as much as we can to do outreach.
Can I pause you?
Yeah.
So the electronics, maybe Kevin D, you want to help us? Would you consider that a finance challenge, a program challenge, management and staff? It doesn't matter. We just want to put it somewhere.
That's probably a finance challenge.
Okay.
Online payments, it's more about figuring out how to get that paper trail.
Okay, so
and then trainings.
Did you find finance, Kara? It's on the kind of lower half on the right. So online payments, getting those going. That was the basic comment, right, Nicole?
Yeah.
And then you were about to go on, but let's give Kara a moment to keep up.
Yep.
This is a little
I'm
slower.
on it.
The next one was what?
That was pretty much my main one that hasn't been mentioned already. So
Okay, online payments. But you started to talk about something about the web, or you meant online payments on the web.
yeah, online payments on the web. I think the website itself could definitely be used for better marketing if it's sort of maintained. That would be my main thing for finance. I guess a second one that just came to my mind was, the maintenance of the sort of miscellaneous facilities, like the non-pool related stuff. That's definitely something I would want to focus on personally.
Like, what do you mean?
Like the basketball court and the play structure, all of those things.
Wait, pause for a second. Let me help Kara. Far left facilities, upper left. So please repeat that one. Sorry, this is all a little slower, this part for us.
No worries. Yeah, it's just the basketball court and the play structure, I think could definitely be updated.
Okay, good. Remember now, Nicole, these may be your comments of what's very most important. I want to make sure we're not just hearing good ideas, but the things you think are most important.
Yeah, I would definitely say, I guess the facility thing I just added is less of an issue, but these are the two biggest things I would add that I think are most important that haven't already been mentioned.
Okay, so let me just try to, it's going to matter to this kind of process going forward. I'm not just trying to get ideas here. I'm trying to really hear what you think is most important. So clearly online payments, you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Is the basketball court, of all the things that need to be done and concerned about and dealt with, you'd put that above any of the others?
No, I would definitely put other things above that. So
okay.
You can get rid of.
Pause. Let's get rid of basketball court. And you gave us one. So we'll come back to you. Kevin, let's hear one of your most important few things that you think need to be dealt.
Martin, the sound went out. I couldn't hear.
Yeah, so let's get rid of basketball court entirely right now. The one you just entered under facilities. Are you hearing me?
My internet's not good right now.
Let's get rid of basketball court. Can you hear that?
I can hear that.
Yeah, get rid of basketball court and play structure. So let's go to, we haven't heard from you, Kevin C., have we?
No.
Okay, so we're not looking just for good ideas, but the couple of most important things.
I think it's figuring out the
and you can repeat.
Yeah, so optimization of the facility, of the limited space that we have. I think what Steve mentioned, if it's not an issue of utilizing the space, and it's an issue of maybe optimizing it, and whether that's creating a dome, having it in use or available during off hours, things like that. So facilities, and then kind of to Nicole's point, that also relates to, okay, what's the best way to whether people are using the basketball court or the play structure, cleaning that up a little bit. And so I think it's overall in general, just figuring out the best use of the limited space we have in that area.
Okay.
We only have 5 lanes, then does it mean opening up an additional lane? Or if it's, Jennifer's suggestion of having a child pool, does that make sense? So I think it's just figuring out, we have this limited space here. Can we do things to that space where it's going to increase usage and kind of optimize the way that we're utilizing that land for the facilities.
Okay, good. Kevin Davis.
Sure. So my number one obviously is LAFCO. We need certainty, and so you know, in terms of operational certainty, there's nothing higher than whether we exist or not. That one's already been mentioned, so I think.
But let me pause you. I still want to
Uh-huh.
hear it if it's your first. Repeating is okay. I just want to hear your top ones.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, in terms of planning for the next few years, if we don't exist at the end of this year, then there's really not a whole lot that can come after. So, but I think that the board has already addressed that through the robust outreach project that we're currently launching later today. So, I'm pretty confident that that we are taking the right steps there.
Okay, so that goes number one. I'm going to limit you to that for now, okay? And we'll come back around. Misha.
Yeah, should I give my top 3 or should I pick one?
Pick your top one and share it.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think among my top 3, they all kind of boil down to better outreach.
Okay, better outreach. And can you just say a little more about it? Why is that so important?
I think my other ones were involving like staffing and then just kind of general modernization. I think especially in regards to our issue with staff retention, a more solidified outreach program could allow us to not only reach out to people to try and get them to come to the pool, but also to come in staff when we need it. And then hopefully keep them there somehow. But yeah, I think we can definitely find a way to reach out to others better and not rely on platforms such as Nextdoor that was mentioned, you know, sometimes cause argument. So yeah.
Okay, and you mentioned something that I think has not been mentioned today, is using outreach not just to help people use services, but to help attract staff, especially younger ones.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So that's Misha. Jennifer?
Yes, thank you. A very interesting discussion. Yes, I think that what I am going to do, and maybe we can, I think that I am going to try to do as much as I can to bring more people to the pool. I plan to try to rent the pool hall for a meeting or my friends getting together as soon as possible. I'm going to start bringing more friends with me and relatives to use the pool facility. I'm a middle-aged woman. I have a stay-at-home mother friend who has 2 special needs children, lives in Sunnyvale. I have my friend and she's in Sunnyvale. I have a friend that just moved. She's a former Rancho resident, but she just moved to Santa Clara. I'm going to bring them with me to use the facility. I think that it's the pool is there to be used. And I think that by having the public bring people with them or family members, it is an excellent way to utilize the pool. And that's going to be kind of my mission going forward. I do think that COVID has presented tremendous challenges. And I think the staff and the board have done a fantastic job of dealing with it, but it does still require challenges going forward. So I think those are my top 2. Thank you.
Okay, good. Nupur, do you have another one to share with us?
I think my thoughts, like Kevin mentioned, are we going to even exist? First needs to be addressed, right?
Okay. And good. So if that's the top, do you have a number 2, or really that's what you're focused on?
Number 2 would definitely be just becoming more electronic friendly.
Okay.
Just the ability to make payments online, reserve spots online, just that.
Okay. So let's give Kara a moment to catch up. And Nakul, how about you?
Yeah, honestly, I don't have anything else to add at this point. I think everything we've talked about would be high up there, and yeah, I would not want to prioritize anything else above what we already have.
Perfect. I appreciate that. Steve.
Do I have any more?
Yeah, and remember, we're not just trying to fill out a list. We're trying to identify the most important issues to deal with.
Again, LAFCO is whether we're going to exist, as Kevin put it, is number one. And then my second was ramping up to exit in a way, exit COVID and offer more programs as we can. And then publicize available programs through outreach was important too.
Okay, let's slow down. So you had LAFCO.
Yeah.
Outreach is near the top. Publicized programs near outreach. I'm just giving Kara a chance to keep up. She has to roam around the board.
Yeah. As they're turned back on, we publicize our programs through outreach as best we can.
Okay. And you're noting as we turn back on, is that a specific challenge?
Yeah.
And the third one was?
Just general COVID programs as you ramp up, right?
Was it general COVID program, Steve?
Yeah, it was ramping up on a COVID-19 exit to offer as much as we can.
Okay.
I'm also concerned that we keep working together well as a board to represent everybody in the to represent the public.
Okay, Kara, the board is in the upper right,
Yeah.
farthest right board, upper corner.
Under board and governments?
Yeah, board and governance, yeah. Continue to work well as a board.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the district recently went through some difficulties with that, so you experienced how it is when it's not working well.
Right, and it's working much better now. I'm glad to see it.
Okay. Kevin C.
Yep.
Do you have an important topic, an important issue that you would focus on?
I think I already went, but I think it was also so I guess what Kevin D mentioned, I think kind of certainty.
LAFCO, you mean?
Yeah, LAFCO, whether we're independent or part of the city. And then aside from that, once you have that figured out, utilizing the facility and then optimizing the space, the limited space we have, and hopefully, you know, if we increase utilization, then, you know, having to deal with that as well.
Okay. Kevin D, can I ask you a question related to that? In your mind, is the issue of utilization more about finance or more about programs or both?
So you mean program utilization?
Facilities or programs?
Sorry, can you repeat the whole question one more time?
Yeah, so,
I'm
Kevin,
having a little bit of trouble. There's
Kevin just commented that one of his top issues was maximizing utilization.
I think there's some like lag or something. I think the sound is not reaching.
All right. Can everyone else hear?
I can hear.
Okay. Is utilization more of a facility challenge or a program issue or both?
Like in terms of what Steve was talking about?
Kevin Seed, his comment from a moment ago.
Maybe a little bit of both. It depends on which program.
Okay. All right. And while I got you, did you have anything to add, or you just want to hammer on LAFCO as the top issue at the moment?
I guess I do have a secondary one. And it kind of ties in a few of the different facility issues. I think Nicole pointed out the basketball court, but there's a whole bunch of different items that need to be looked at. And since this is a 3 to 5 year plan, having the facility master plan would be really, really helpful in the long term. Looking at not just what needs to be done now, like the pool deck, the kitchenette, the bathrooms, but moreover, how do we want the facility to look in the future? That way we can make strategic upgrades in a way where we already kind of know what the end goal is. I think that's, and if we start planning now, then by the time we actually have the funds to do it, by the time we're ready to do it, we're in a much better place where we know what we want, we know what needs to be done, we know how it's going to fit with the rest of the future facility. That would be, I think, a good thing to start sometime within the next couple of years, if possible.
Good.
And then it would address possibly multiple areas.
It would also, in my experience with facility master plans, it would also make it easier to think big, because if you just talk about your budget, let's fix this, let's fix that, that's one thing. But if you say 10 or 15 or 20 years from now, you could really have an open mind. You could say, do we really want to have the kitchen and the hall? Would we rather have a super huge pool? Or do we want to get rid of the basketball court and put in a kiddie pool? Or I'm not saying that our answers really, just simply, you could think beyond what's obvious right in front of you and what you might give money for over a long time.
And it could even, account for things like staffing issues, where we talked about the seasonality of, how we have hours in the summer and then not as much in the winter. If we rearrange the facility in a way where we can run programs in the winter, just things like that.
Perfect. The little timer's going off, but I think we're down. I just want to ask before we go, is there any other high priority issues that you think belong on this list? Something that is missing that you think we would want to prioritize and make sure we do? And I know it's hard to see. We've heard about, I'm going to increase the size a little bit, but we've heard about the facility and optimizing its space and even having a master plan eventually, considering everything that needs to be done, fixing current things. We've heard about the transition of programs across COVID and making sure we ramp up as best we can. We've heard about LAFCO and how central that is. We may or may not exist a year from now. Outreach can always be better. We've talked a lot about that. Electronic payments, and just continuing to have a functioning board. Is there anything that's missing from a list that's meant to be just the high priority items, not everything that needs to be done? And that's good. That's okay. I'm going to pause. It's been another hour, and let's take 5 minutes. I have 10:44 on mine. Let's take till 10:50. Okay, I'll see you here in 5 minutes or 6 minutes.
Is that working? Okay.
Okay.
So it's the phone that's having the error?
No, it's not communicating with the, we have that,
The router?
no, it's communicating with router because that's how the signature. But it's supposed to talk to HP about the, how much things we have that instant program.
Oh, do you think that's what's causing it? to
No.
hold up? Oh, okay.
Because that worked before. I thought it was positive. I knew it was positive.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well, it's no longer communicating. It's been communicating.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, they didn't do it.
Okay. All right, honey. I'll let you. Yeah. Thank you for working on that.
Yeah, we just kind of not.
Yeah. You could, thank you.
Are you back, Kara?
I am.
Okay, good. Here we go. Let's see. Are people back?
Kevin C is back.
All right, Kevin. Thank you.
Nupur is here.
Nupur, thank you.
I'm back.
Steve, Keith,
Kevin D is back.
Kevin D.
Jennifer's back.
How about Misha, Nakul, and Steve?
Nicole's back.
He is back.
Misha?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Okay, thank you. Great. You guys are excellent in terms of getting back from breaks. Okay. Kara, can you reset the clock? Actually, we're going to just run it out now. It's 11 basically. We're going to go till 12, so we're good. Well, actually, can you reset it for an hour anyway? That'll help us see we're getting close to the end.
Yeah.
We've got 2 more exercises here, and we're doing perfect here on timing. This one is creating a vision for the district. And this one you may want to write down differently, like maybe you want to type it into email or something, or you can just write it, handwrite it if you'd like. But I would like to get your notes from you. So whatever you write, I'd like to get all the words that you wrote. When we're talking here today, I'm going to just capture bullets kind of as best Kara is able. But if you do write something, please, I'd like to get you to email it into Kevin, if that's okay, Kevin D, and then he'll get it to me.
What's Kevin's email?
It's kevin@ranchorecreation.org.
So what we're doing is we're creating a vision for the district in the future. And this is to help us think in just another way about the future. And it will result in having what's called a vision statement, which is meant to be an aspirational thing. Like we want to think about a description of your ideal picture of the district, if it can become as good as it can be, realistically as good as it can be, not a magical version of the district, but a real vision of the district sometime in the future. And I want you to write it out in a way that's in the present tense. So in other words, I want you to write what it looks and feels like as if it were real. That future vision of the district was real. So I'm going to just invent something, you know, the pool, and I'm not saying these are good ideas. I'm just inventing for a style like, you know, it's 15 years in the future, and the pool is full from morning till night, 7 days a week. We've modified the place to build a bigger pool, and we've shrunk the hall. We have, you know, a full group of well-trained young people who are moving through our training program and gaining responsibility. We have programs for everything from babies to adults. Again, I'm just inventing, but whatever it is that you would have your vision of the ideal district. And I also want you to include, after you write your vision of the district, I want you to make a few extra notes. How will we know we have achieved your vision? In other words, what will be different in the world if we achieve your vision, like concretely? What benefits or value will customers, stakeholders, employees, whoever, what will people experience differently? And how long will it take to achieve? In other words, what is your timeline? Is this a 3-year vision, a 5-year vision, a 10-year vision, a 20-year vision? And so it's going to take a little more time for this one. You know, give yourself, I don't know, however long it takes. Obviously, I don't want you to sit there for an hour and write this, but if it takes 10 minutes or something, that's okay. Think this through, include these bullets. How will we know we've achieved your vision? What benefits or value will customers or people experience, and how long will it take to achieve? And be prepared to either now or afterwards send it to Kevin. But for now, for today, I'm not going to ask you to give me every detail of it. I'm going to ask for sort of the core elements of it so that we can hear each other just today. So I'll give you a few minutes to do that. And then Kara, each person gets their own little card, right?
Perfect.
I'm ready, Nupur.
Thank you, Nupur. You were speedy.
Kevin Davis, done.
Thank you, Kevin.
Jennifer, I think I'm done other than I can't spell.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Should we mail these to Kevin now?
Sure, whenever you're ready.
Okay, is there any, are you gonna have us add anything to the end of them?
Not any more than I just asked here. We're going to talk about them, but if you're done, you can mail it. Email it.
Okay, or would it be better to mail it when you're done?
Whatever you prefer.
Okay, all right, I think I'm gonna hold off because I might have some more ideas after you talk about it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So I have Jennifer Napur and Kevin D being complete. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm done as well. This is Misha.
Okay, Misha's done. Thank you.
I'm sorry, did you mention my name at all? Amazon box, just kidding. Did you? I'm all finished, I think, unless you have something else.
We're good, Jennifer.
Okay, thank you.
He's ready as well.
Is that Kevin or Nicole?
Kevin.
All right, thank you, Kevin.
This is Steve. I think I've got mine done too.
Okay, we're gonna get rolling then. I think Nicole may still be working on it. That's fine. Let's take one of you and don't talk too fast because I want Kara to be able to kind of collect it. Let's start with you, Steve. What is yours? And don't rattle through it too fast. Take your time.
Okay. The first item is how will we know we've achieved? Restore all previous programs offered,
Okay.
plus more as we can add them.
Okay.
Let's see, so that it is even more used than before, if possible.
Okay.
Yeah, better utilized, used before than possible. The district, wait till she's done typing. District will be fully utilized with the least amount of downtime, and that's how we'll know. That's the benefit.
Okay.
I know we need downtime for maintenance, based on previous history.
So that's how we know that we've done it, that we've succeeded. There will be the minimum downtime.
Right, which is the way we were running before COVID-19. We were getting a lot of hours usage out of our pool, especially, and everything else we could. But we focused on the pool because that's the unique resource we had. And I think that this should, how long will it take to achieve? Should take at least 2 years.
Okay, good. Does that conclude it, or do you have more?
That's pretty much all I could think of is getting us back to normal again, at whatever the new normal is.
Okay, great. That's fine. Kevin C.
Yes. So I'll email this to Kevin as well, but the vision is basically full utilization of the pool / facilities. And then in that metric, greater than 75% throughout the majority of the hours of the day, hopefully expanded from something like 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Throughout all seasons. So that in general, maximize utilization of space and areas while having usage experience comfortable and pleasant. How will we know it's been achieved? Basically by observing usage patterns and times. Customers, stakeholders, and employees will know that they have generally available and clean community pool when they would like to use it. And then I think the time frame would be 3 to 5 years.
Okay, good. Can I just ask you a question about your 75%? Is that the same thing as 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. or what is that 75%?
No, so I'm trying to give a metric for full utilization. So in my mind, I don't know how feasible that is, but maybe Steve and Kevin can comment. But when you've seen the pool being fully utilized, I was thinking like a 75% rate. Whether that's the community areas, play structures, just in general. So that number was just kind of a number that I threw out there to define full utilization.
Understood. So obviously that would take some thinking. Staff would probably need to help figure that one out, but got it. It's an example.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. How about Kevin D?
All right. So mine was actually very similar. I said a true center of the community, fully utilized, family friendly, affordable, clean, and with programs for all segments of the community. And the way that we would know that we've reached that is with 7 days a week, 12 plus hours of programming.
Okay.
Excellent satisfaction ratings from the programs, we do take polling for swim lessons, but things like that, we get a read on how satisfied people are. And also having great employee experience. Retention isn't always a great indicator because we have a lot of people who are satisfied who leave because they're just the demographics, they graduated. But the great employee experience would be one thing. And full programs, I think Kevin C's idea of maybe a certain ratio of being full would be a good metric. Being fully full means that maybe people, if there isn't any availability, that might not be good either.
Right.
And I think that to do this really well, it's going to take a lot of time, realistically, including doing some facility changes. So I put it more at like 20 years.
Okay. I have a question. Well, you mentioned great employee experience, and I think from the interviews, maybe it was some of your staff who mentioned this, but some of them thought that, no one said it, but it was maybe implied that part of the service or mission of the district was helping train people in their first job. Some of this, do you see it that way? Is that conscious or is that just a byproduct, or you train?
That's very real. That is very real. There's an employee culture which we've struggled to maintain, which is really focused on the employee experience. That includes staff events, things of that nature, that both increase retention, but also make for a more cohesive staff experience. And I think that that's something we'd like to have go forward. It has been more challenging to keep up as the staff grows larger, because it's easier with a small staff to be really tight knit. But when it gets bigger, maintaining that is definitely a challenge.
Okay, so great. Thank you. I appreciate that. That was great. Misha?
Yeah, I think almost everyone touched on mostly what I was thinking of, but for me, I see definitely a lot more modernization, both of just our operations, but also our facilities as well. And then additionally, just in general, more usage of the facilities, both, more programs for the pool, more attendance to those programs, but also, more people interested in utilizing the clubhouse. And I think the way that we can tell we've achieved that specifically is, having like a wait list or something for the clubhouse because there's so many people that want to rent it out. I think that at that point, we know that it truly is a center of the community and everyone wants to utilize Rancho as, for that purpose. And then additionally, just kind of more safety. I know that especially after all of this COVID stuff and everything, a lot of people are worried about safety in this area. And alongside modernization comes just increased safety measures, just for parents who drop their kids off so they can have a little bit more peace of mind knowing that their kids are going to be safe in this facility.
Okay. When you say modernize operations, what is operations in your mind? What are you talking about there?
That's more on the end of electronic payments and recognition.
Okay. The things we've already spoken about, in other words.
Yeah.
Okay, now cool.
Yeah, so should I just start off with what I think is a good, I guess I'll just start off with my vision, right? So I would say that in terms of what I wrote down, I wrote about how, we have the pool as a place for folks from Cupertino and San Jose to visit for hour-long or half-hour-long swim lessons. And then when people can book lessons or even sort of reserve spots for public swim, they can do so electronically through the web. And then parking spaces have been increased to include maybe a new lot nearby. And many of the new customers are actually people who are residents in the district. So we get sort of more of that community engagement. So those are sort of the main things. As far as how I'd measure success, I really think it would just basically be the number of different customers throughout the days that the pool is operating, right? and seeing how many sort of new people who haven't used the pool before are coming to use it. And then also just like the number of swim lessons that are reserved online. I think that would be another way to measure success. Benefits wise, I think it's mainly to the customers in the Rancho Rinconada community. I think it potentially also gives more flexibility to staff if we're able to have a great online system that sort of works efficiently and properly. Or maybe not, maybe there's more sort of staff work devoted towards actually maintaining that system. And in terms of the time frame, I really think like 5 to 10 years is where I'd put this at.
Okay, great. Thank you. Nupur.
Okay, so my vision, basically 5 to 7 years, I would like to see a covered year-round usable pool, some trained and trusted staff, and competitive rental facilities that will cater to the demand in the area, and definitely benefits the community. And how we'll know it's working is the utilization will be pretty clear way to tell, and increasing demand.
Okay. A quick question just for my education and maybe some of the rest of yours too, I don't know. The rental facility, I haven't heard much about it. Kevin, does that get much use? Is that in demand, or is it one of the quieter parts of the facility?
Sorry, it seems like I'm having some internet issues. Did you asked about the rentals and?
Yes. How well used or fully used is the rental hall, or I'm not sure what you call it?
Community hall.
Right, the rental hall does get used, but it's mostly used for recurring rentals such as yoga, and then we also have kind of an after-school program that's in there right now. In terms of people coming in and renting that space, it just doesn't happen very often. We did a rate study a little while ago, and our rates are very, very, very competitive. So we're really at the bottom, most affordable for virtually any segment. So it might be a matter of outreach. Maybe people don't know about it, or maybe people's needs have changed. That's just not certain yet.
Okay. Well, good. Jennifer, I think.
Yes, thank you. I'll just throw in there, it's been always like called the community hall, and it's been around for a long time. I'll just speak on that for a second. I have actually looked into renting it at various different times. There is an outside area that can be rented also. So it's an active area. Kevin knows more about it. So my statement is Rancho Recreation Pool District is a friendly, accommodating neighborhood and community center with recreation options such as swimming and a playground and services in the community hall. It is a valuable resource for people of all ages.
Can you, Jennifer, can you read that again? I missed.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you? I hope you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Okay, Rancho Recreation Pool District is a friendly, accommodating neighborhood and community center with recreation options such as swimming and a playground and services in the community hall. It is a valuable resource for people of all ages.
Great. And I know the sentence is a little wacky the way we typed it, but we got the picture, and we'll get your emailed version, to get it straight.
Okay.
Good. Well, thank you. Does anyone just want to comment on any of these, or does anyone have a question or anything come to mind? Otherwise, we're ready to move on to the last thing here. Are we good? Okay. Good. So you guys are doing really great in terms of how we're moving through this. my goal was to get through there, and my hope was to get through this. So we're going to get to the hope and sort of our ideal place here. I had taken your priorities from the earlier session. Remember the one where we had all those yellow boards where we said, what are the most important things we're talking about? And I took a moment to just kind of type those quickly. Let's take a minute here, and anyone can speak up in any order. Actually, before you speak up, what I'd like you to do is just take a second to think about everything we've discussed and consider if anything is missing. We have these issues here, and you could edit them like so they're a slightly better statement. Maybe we want to edit these and make them more clear. Maybe we want to remove one of these. But what I want to do is come up with a list of all the most important topics we've talked about, including consider the things from vision. And then we're going to vote on them, not because it's a real vote that we do anything about. It's just to get a sense of what's most important and why. If this is the starting list from that previous exercise, does anyone want to clarify any of these statements and make them better, more accurate, or more clear about what we mean?
I just want to I just wanted to ask a question. This is Jennifer. This part about the welcoming, clean, I would just say how the pool district presents itself to the incoming public.
Okay.
I think that needs to be, I don't see that really incorporated in there. Maybe you need to make a separate one, but it's like the happy, like welcoming, please come in and use our facilities. To me, as a public member, that the welcoming part is very, very important. I don't know if that is translating into one of the yellow boxes. I could be wrong, I apologize, but I just would like to have that nuance there. Thank you.
Okay, so for all of you, we're noting that. For all of you, as we think of this list isn't meant to be everything that's going to be covered in the plan. We're going to, if anything was important and anything was mentioned at any time, we're going to take care of it at some point. What we're trying to do is identify what are the few most important things that are most critical to deal with. It's kind of like what we were doing before earlier, but we're going to do a little vote. We're going to have one last chance to look at our list. So is this a good starting list of things to consider as most important? And I see like we got a little spelling issue, and of course we'll fix that kind of thing. I'm going to just go through the list of each of you. Steve, do you see anything that needs to be changed here or needs to be added or subtracted as a list to consider? We're going to actually vote on it in a minute here.
Financial stability isn't there. Long-range financial stability.
Okay.
Let's see. I mean, I wanted more than 7. Let's put it that way. So.
Yeah, and we're going to try to narrow it down further, actually, but maybe the 7 will all survive. How about you, Kevin C? Is there anything needs to be written a little better or subtracted, added as a list to consider as most important of everything we've talked about today?
I think this is more on a maybe not, but like staffing issues. I think like Kevin mentioned, if there is an issue maintaining and attracting good staff members, I think that should also be on it. But I don't know if that's more of a micro issue that relates to something else on there. I don't know. Yeah, that's probably one thing that I've heard that it should be added as a priority too.
How about you, Kevin D?
I think the list looks pretty good. I just did want to clarify that these are these priorities that would require, kind of a cohesive effort rather than just the effort of staff. Because some things like maintaining and attracting staff members, I don't know that there would be a need for much board action, but it would be more of like staff.
Yeah, that's a great point. I was not making an effort to distinguish between the two, but yes, that is a staff action in all likelihood, unless the effort to maintain and attract staff took some kind of additional approval or budget increase or something that the board had to get to. But in all likelihood, there's not much for the board to deal with there. So we could pull it off. Like if you think that there's nothing special the board needs to do, we could pull it off.
Yeah, I mean, some of these things, I think they're going to be very challenging, but I don't think the board will need to deal with it much. I think on the staff level, we can pretty effectively, we'll figure something out. It will not be easy. There will be problems, but it's something we can do. I think maximizing COVID programs through the transition, again, I think staff, we're very good at this kind of stuff. So I think we can do that relatively easy. But some things like electronic payments, yes, that is a staff issue, but there's going to be quite a bit of, there might need to be some investment in terms of, and not insignificant investment and changes in the budget if that happens.
So we slid a couple to the side. I don't know where your monitors are showing, but they're on the left. Okay. How about electronic services and payment signups? That's a staff thing.
It is a staff thing, but I do think there's going to be, there will be some bigger budget effects from that, mostly because if we take electronic payments, we have to accept that our program income may drop as much as 2.5% to 3%, which is not insignificant. So I think that one, there might have to be some board action on that front. So I think that looks good.
Okay.
These all look like things we'll all need to work on. Although welcoming environment, I think staff can take care of that too.
Okay. So welcoming environment will slide off to the side. Yeah. How about you, Misha?
Yeah, I think all of these look good.
Okay. I'm going to slide. Oh, sorry if I beat you to it, Kara, there. Nakul, any changes to this list?
No, it looks good to me.
I'm going to move these a little farther away, Kara, just because of the vote. We want to make sure we can keep. How about you, Nupur?
I think my top 3 priorities are on there, so I'm good.
Okay. Jennifer?
Yes, very good.
Okay. So we're going to do a little vote. This program is made so everyone can participate in it, but it never works to bring in a group like this for like a couple hours. So I'm going to run the vote for you.
Okay.
Create a voting session. We don't have, you know what I'm going to do here?
We need numbers.
Let's just put, or let's make a shape. Let's just make a shape and you just put a little green, like, circle by each one. Just let's copy that and make it like a bright color.
Or can I just do like a number like that?
Yeah, you can just do a number. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's just, to keep it simple, I'm going to ask each of you, like, here you are, you're faced with these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things that need to be done. And when you do any kind of job, it takes resources, right? It takes people, it takes money, it takes time, it takes attention. And so we're not worried here about exactly understanding the resources that are needed here. But let's say that you each had let's just say 3 resources to put on this. So you each had 3, whether you're calling it money or time or whatever. Actually, I'm going to give you more. I'm going to give you 5 each. where would you put your 5? And I wonder if, Kara, if you want to just do this by hand, like write down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you just keep track of what they say on a pad of paper and you just report to us instead of trying to type it all? Or do you think you can keep up with typing?
No, I'll do it on a piece of paper, but I'm not following what you want me to do.
So like, let's say I'm going to do this for fake, you know, to show people what I mean. Like, let's say we have 5 resources to invest in these 6 things. Where would I invest my resources? I would put, just for talking, let's say I put 2 on LAFCO because I think we got to do that, but it's not going to last very long. So that I'm going to have 3 more left. I would put 1 on each of facility master plan, more effective outreach, and electronic services. So I put 2 on LAFCO and then 1 on each of the top 3. And each of you will be invited to give, you know, 5 resources, and we'll just see where we put the most and where we put the least. It doesn't mean we're going to do this. We're not really voting. We're not really going to do anything. It's just a way of trying to understand what you each think is most important. So, does that make sense to people? I haven't run it this way before, so I'm sorry. We're inventing a little on the fly here. So I'm going to give it to Kevin first.
To clarify, you could put more than 1 on?
Yeah, you could put more on, like if you think it's worth more resources, whatever those resources are, money, time, people, whatever it is. So why don't we go with you first, just because I can see you on the screen. If you had 5 resources to spread across these 6 things, where would you put them?
5, oof. And each of these resources, okay. Well, 2 on LAFCO.
Okay, 2 on LAFCO. Kara, are you set up to do this?
Yeah, I'm doing like a tally.
Okay, good. So 2 on LAFCO, then what?
I think I just cut out here. Am I still, can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
We can hear you.
Oh, there we go. And I guess I would split the rest of the 3 over facility master plan.
Okay.
Okay.
1 for more effective outreach and 1 for electronic services.
Okay. All right. So that's Kevin.
That was 7.
Is it 5 or 7?
I said, let's do 5. Let's force you to
Okay.
choose and leave something out. So how about Steve? Where would you put yours?
I guess I'd put 2 on LAFCO. More effective outreach, facility master plan, and optimized facility.
1 each.
1 each.
Then you're out. That's it. Did you realize that? So do you still want to do it that way?
Well, no, that's 4.
That's
2 on
4,
LAFCO, 1 on facility, 1 on more effective outreach. Oh, you didn't do electronic payments, did you?
Not yet. I was trying to decide whether I can see that. Yeah, I'm tied between the other 3. I'll go with that. More electronic services.
Okay. Okay, so that's Steve. How about Kevin C?
Kind of similar. I think 2 on LAFCO, 2 on effective outreach, and then 1 on the facility master plan, optimize the facility.
Okay. That's Kevin C. Misha.
I do 1 on LAFCO, 2 on outreach, and then 1 on the master plan and 1 on electronic services.
Okay. Nicole.
Yeah, I would put one for the facility master plan. I'd put 2 on outreach. 1 on electronic services, and then 1 on LAFCO.
Okay, Nupur.
So I have a quick question first. So to me, LAFCO and outreach are kind of linked. So when we say only outreach, are we talking about everything other than the outreach we're talking about other than LAFCO, or does that include it?
Well, we didn't discuss that, so why don't you tell us what you think?
Okay, so I would say outreach too, because that would decision LAFCO for me. And then facilities 1.
Now, when you also say outreach, are you just thinking of LAFCO, or are you thinking about outreach
think
after LAFCO?
Both. First, it would take care of LAFCO and then continue.
Okay. Okay, good. So
And
you
then
said two for outreach, is that what you said?
Yes, 2 for outreach, 1 for facilities,
Okay,
1 for electronic payments,
okay,
and then 1 for long-range financial stability.
okay. Okay. And then Jennifer, I'm not going to add yours up because I want to know what the board thinks, but we want to hear what you're thinking.
Yeah, I see that the welcoming thing went off to the left. So that was actually, I would tell you, my gut level, that's my main concern, but that's okay. But let's go, can you slide the screen back to where those, your things was? I mean, your things were. Do you want me to vote on these 5? I mean, or the
Well,
6?
you can tell us whatever you want to do. I'm not going to count your vote just because.
Oh, why not? Hey, okay, geez. Okay, I'm the public here.
You're
Anyway, I'll just say, okay,
in the public.
that's fine. As the public member who will be bringing people in with her family members, I want a warm, accommodating, please come in. We're happy, to see you. But just even for the counting thing, I would say 1 to LAFCO, 1 to facility master plan, 1 to outreach, and 1 to, I think 1 to the global, I'm sorry, 1 to that electronic system. Is that 5?
You're up 4, I think.
Okay, so one LAFCO, 1 outreach, 2. Oh, sorry, 2 to LAFCO.
Oh, 2 to LAFCO, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
1 to facility master plan, 1 to more outreach, and 1 to the electronic services thing.
Okay. Good. Jennifer, does this tally up on the board? I mean, Kara, does this tally on the board match your tally?
Give me just a sec.
3, 4, 5, 6.
It does.
Okay. So again, this is not anything, right? You're going to have long-range financial stability. You're going to try to maintain board effectiveness. You're going to do these and many other things. This is just helping us to understand what's important, right? And bring some focus to the discussion. Does this, anyone have any comments about this? Does this surprise you? Does it seem like it makes sense? Does it surprise you? Does it seem wrong? Does it seem right? These two are kind of related, right? At least in the near term, outreach and LAFCO. Does anyone want to comment on Nupur's comment? Is this about long range? outreach?
And sorry, in the short term, I would say outreach, but long term, we do have outreach to the public on an ongoing basis, which has been the thing for 72 years, or since 1952, since the district has existed. The LAFCO situation, it was sporadic up until a few years ago. Now, obviously, there's ongoing, and I'm in contact with LAFCO now over this anyway. So yes, I understand that, but I don't see them combined. I see them as two separate, as you all had them there. I think they are two separate things. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? No comments?
I'm a little surprised facility master plan, optimized facility scored third. This surprises me. I figured that was what we were trying to do here. You know,
That surprised you for being too low or too high, or what surprised you?
third, you know, because I guess in my vision, I thought that's what we're trying to do in this meeting this morning is really get this kicked off on our master plan but it's not just master plan. You're right. It's our goals.
So I'm recalling something that Kevin D said a bit ago. If we get taken over a year from now, none of this matters.
True.
It still matters. I live in Rancho. I haven't moved, and I will have to, believe me, we will be in contact with the city over how they proceed with this. I can guarantee you that. But that's what, no, I understand where Kevin was coming from. Maybe it should be, we do have a master plan and we need to try to stick to that. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, and I'd like to clarify my words. I didn't mean it doesn't matter. I meant the district won't be responsible for it. The city would be at that point.
Not necessarily.
Okay, good. If that's it, then maybe just one final thing. And Kara, we don't have a spot reserved to put it, so maybe you can just make a quick little text box or something. I would just invite, this gets us to the end of what we were trying to accomplish today. There's going to be an outreach program. There's going to be we're going to reach out in a variety of ways to find out what your community thinks about the strategic plan and the LAFCO situation. We'll ask them similar, although way fewer questions. We'll get their input from them. And there will be another board workshop. The next time you see this, it'll be sort of organized much more like a strategic plan. We'll extrapolate from these comments and from things the staff knows. I'll work with staff to sort of create a draft of a plan. And that you'll be reviewing that next time and talking about stuff that is more specific and more specifically organized. I forget, Kevin, just because I do so many of these and I didn't write it down, do we have a second workshop already scheduled, or do we need to do that?
We do have a second workshop scheduled. I want to say it's on the 14th of April, just off the top, but I could be making that up.
Okay, I think, okay, we'll find out and we'll communicate with you in plenty of time to confirm that.
It is the 14th of April.
Okay. So what I'd like to do is just a quick closing. We're going to be actually a little early. It's 11:40 right now, so we're good on time. I'd just like to ask each of you in turn if you have any comments, either about the process or this session or anything you learned or anything you think or want to share with your fellow board members or what community member. And I'm just going to go down the list that I had before. Steve, do you just have any closing comments here? Just whatever you want to share as we complete the meeting.
I think it's been pretty effective in terms of pulling out of each of us what we think is important, you know, and that's what we hoped for, was to try and figure out where are we as a group heading, and so it seems to have done that. I knew the result, whatever it was going to be different than what I individually thought. So looks good. I mean, it's a great start. It's hard.
Thank you, Steve. How about Kevin C?
No, I think this is a good starting point. We have a kind of a priority list of where we're going and what we're trying to achieve, and so I think it'll obviously take some time, but I think just kind of buttoning this up and then knowing what we're focused on doing, and what we're all working towards is very helpful.
Great, thank you. How about Kevin D?
I actually really like this process, and the last part, I think having limited resources and ability to execute and just narrowing it down is totally realistic as far as what actually happens and why things get deprioritized and don't happen over the long run. So this is going to be helpful, not just on what will happen potentially in the future, but also why other things are going to take a little bit longer. So I really appreciate that. And I'm happy to see the facility master plan as high as it is, because that's been a pet project for a while.
All right, thank you. Misha?
Yeah, I'm just going to kind of echo the sentiments of everyone who spoke before me. I think this is really beneficial. I think it's really great to have the opportunity to just kind of sit down as a board and discuss all of these things for a couple hours. I don't think we'd be as organized during the rest of this term. So it's very beneficial, and I'm really glad we have this opportunity.
Okay, thank you. Nakul?
Yeah, I mean, my opinions are very similar. I think this was a great way for us to get organized and figure out what we're going to be doing exactly over the next few meetings, and sort of come to a consensus. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Nupur?
I agree. I think it was really nice to see that we're at least all heading in the same direction and we kind of agree on most of the points that we brought up. So that was really nice. Thank you.
Okay, and our member of the public gets the last word on this one.
Oh, yes, thank you. I have participated in many of these at the city functions, and you all did a wonderful job. Very, very difficult to try to get all of this facilitated, especially with COVID and Zoom. But yes, I think that this is a wonderful start, and everybody seems to be going in the same direction. And I'm very, very convinced that the Rancho Special District will be maintained as a warm, welcoming, accommodating facility for the neighborhood and community. And I'm getting warm, fuzzy feelings from this nice exercise. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Okay, I got to tell you, probably 100% of the time, we're running out of time or running late. So this is a rare opportunity to finish this all on time, even early. Does anyone have a last word? Any final comments? Otherwise, Kevin will be communicating with you about next steps. There will be future drafts and with the community, and we'll be back to you. Any last words? Otherwise, I want to thank you all. You did a great job, and I really enjoyed meeting you a little more closely via video, at least.
Question. This is as somebody else remarked, one of the other board members, this is the first time we've actually been together as a board for anything but a meeting, and getting to know each other better. So it was very valuable that way too. I'm curious, compared to other times you've gone through this process with other groups, did we come up with more priorities or less or about the same number? Was there anything unusual about this procedure from your point of view as an organizer?
I think the number of priorities is usually small for the reason Kevin Davis said. There's only so much time and money. So even if you have the most complex organization with a $500 million a year budget, you don't want to have 100 priorities because they're busy too. The only other thing I would comment on is this is a little more straightforward than what I usually deal with. Usually, you know, a city, a larger organization has just more complications, more issues, more people. And in many cases, there's really frictions on the board and difficulties among people that we're maneuvering at the same time. We're just trying to do the practical job of planning. So I'd say it's very common to have a layer of interpersonal issues that we're dealing with that are not occurring here, at least visible to me. It seems like you're just all taking each other at face value and sharing, and that's a great thing. Most groups struggle on some level with that. Many do. Otherwise, it's, you know, a little smaller, a little simpler, but very similar. And with that, unless someone speaks up, I'm going to thank you all and wish you a great weekend, and until we meet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.